That was a warm-up.
Hey guys, before this episode of Revenge the Sequel, the podcast about sequels, we just wanted to remind you guys to like and subscribe us on Facebook and the podcast wherever you listen. It could be on Apple Podcasts or Stitcher.
Grinder.
Grinder.
You may also comment.
Yeah.
As well.
And comment. Leave us a good
comment.
Review. Yeah, a good review.
On the Yelp.
And also go to revengethesequel.com. In the new year, there will be more news there about your favorite sequels. Yep, and it's real news. It's not
fake news.
Not yet,
nice.
anyway.
I got you.
That's right. All right, cool. Well, without further ado, this is our episode on Justice League.
And there.
How could there have been only one? And he's back in business.
Is the worst idea in history of bad ideas.
Part 2 is the final chapter in the violent history.
This time, it's personal.
Welcome to Revenge the Sequel, the podcast just about sequel. This is your host, Emmanuel. I sighed so hard.
Yeah, no.
I also farted, no lie.
Really?
Yeah.
God damn it.
Like John's
right
like,
next to
your
me.
ass is like at his face level for sure.
Just to paint a picture for you listeners, I'm sitting higher than John, and he is
Sitting directly on his face.
Yeah, I'm sitting on his face.
Just
He was,
hovering.
Yeah.
Like a toilet.
My name is Emmanuel, and
On
we'll
the
go counterclockwise to my right.
Hey guys, it's John.
Andrew, yeah, I'm back. I
He's
feel like it's been a while, huh?
It has been a while since you've been on.
No, for me or for everybody?
No, for
But yeah.
you and everybody.
And
I
it's
guess,
definitely
too.
been a while since
Andrew's
we've
gonna
had
like
these
this
two.
podcast. He loves DC. He's
Yeah.
dressed up.
I am
as-
biased for sure.
He-
I think so.
He's dressed up as Wonder Woman right now.
All of the
Yeah.
praise is going to come from Andrew.
Yeah, I'm
Spoilers from
sure.
here.
It's cool.
All right. Well, let's
I'm
complete.
ready.
Let's complete our counterclockwise.
Intro.
Yeah.
Anything else? Or
No,
can I go? Am I allowed?
No.
Or-
All right.
Okay.
So let's go back.
All right, let's go
wait.
back clockwise again.
Yeah.
I'm kidding.
No, it's Adam back at it again. This is 2 times in a row.
Two
huh?
times in
Two
a
times
row.
in a
Yeah. I was
Blade
on the
Runner.
Blade Runner one.
Yeah.
So.
Someone could
Back at it
people
again.
could say that that's a superhero movie. No, never mind.
People could say that, but they would be wrong.
Yeah, I was about to say, I was like, people are a little misguided in their opinion there.
And then we have a new guest.
Hi, my name's Brian. If you follow Adam, you might recognize me from the Fan Films podcast.
Fan films?
If you stalk Adam, you'll
You'll eventually find Brian at the end.
yeah, you may have caught him through
Caught
the
a
window.
glimpse of Brian.
This is technically it's my second time on here, but I don't think the
We
one
did
we
that.
did
Oh,
ever
no.
made it to
The
the
first
light.
time,
That was
yeah.
a long one.
Yeah, it was the last episode.
That was a
Yeah.
big one.
Yeah, we
Which
The
movie
Matrix.
is that?
The
Brian,
Matrix.
Brian was actually on the Matrix Reloaded,
Reloaded.
mega
And
episode, which
it
was
was
kind
a
of like,
shit show.
yeah, it was a lot of people,
It was
a lot of
probably
people,
like
just,
7 or 8.
yeah,
Jesus
it's a lot of
Christ.
people, and yeah, that episode never saw the light of day. But
Much like
Brian
the
was there.
Matrix, very hard to follow.
It might leak if we die.
No, you should put
that-
that on
that
your
episode will leak.
Patreon. Put it on your Patreon.
Yeah, we'll put that on
Lost
our Patreon.
episodes. Mhm.
Yes, the lost episodes.
$800 per
Yeah.
per 5 minutes. And
But-
if enough of you pitch in, you'll get a whole episode.
Mhm.
But
There's
yeah,
multiple
guys,
episodes. too.
welcome back. We haven't done a podcast in a really long time.
Mhm.
We didn't do one for Thor Ragnarok, but we may do something special later on. But this week, we're talking about Justice League, one of the most polarizing movies of the entire year. Yeah, that's right.
Polarizing. I mean, it's pretty definitive on where the
this
verdict's
is up there
at.
with the Serbian film Cannibal Holocaust. Let's see, what other things do people...
Mother.
Mother.
Mother,
oh,
yeah, there you go.
Yeah, this
Yeah.
is a close
The
second. to
Passion of
Mother.
the Christ.
We're talking about Justice League. Warner Brother and DC Studios attempt to
Attempt is the correct word.
really bring together these massive IP, intellectual properties. What is it for computers? What does IP stand for? Internet
Protocol.
Protocol.
Yeah.
Yeah, but we're not talking about modems. We're talking about
Superheroes.
superheroes.
Same difference.
But so DC and Warner Brothers have always had a rough time with their most popular movies. Did you guys watch Man of Steel or Batman
Yeah.
vs Superman or what were the other ones?
Wonder Woman,
Wonder
Suicide
Woman.
Squad.
Yeah.
Suicide Squad. Did you guys watch baseball?
Baseball.
What would they be batting? Do you think? Let's give them some averages in terms of movies you liked and movies.
Okay,
that
so how
were
many
interesting.
overall is that?
Is it like
5?
a
like
There's
1,000?
5.
5 counting Justice League, I think, right? Is
Yeah,
it
right.
Suicide Squad. BVS, Man of Steel, Wonder Woman.
So
and
let me
then
run the
including-
math really quick.
Oh, boy.
0.
Oh, okay.
I think is the
Is Zero from
No, they've got one. They've got one good
Wonder
movie.
Woman was good,
Yeah,
right?
Wonder
was pretty
Woman.
good.
yeah. If you count like the 66% of the movie,
Good
yeah.
enough, dude. Good enough.
that's a passing grade. Oh, kind of. You're close to a
That-
passing grade.
you failed the class, but
Yeah.
you got the credit in college.
Well, what do you think is like the focus for this studio? Do you think they're trying to obviously make a ton of money, or do you think it's just all in the who's in charge of these movies? Like
Nobody.
they're-
Nobody's in charge.
Nobody-
now, just Jeff Johns.
Yeah, now Jeff Johns is in charge of it.
but after they've already made
Exactly. Yeah, it's taken them this long for them to
Right.
find someone
A
who's
course
like to actually
correction.
yeah. They don't have a Kevin Feige, which Kevin Feige is the man at Marvel, which Marvel produces like awesome movies as you guys know.
He started young, or a long time ago with
With
X-Men
X-Men.
too.
Yeah, and so like
So-
that guy came from movies. That guy is a movie producer. Like, he happens to work for Marvel and stuff like that, and that's pretty cool. But Jeff Johns, on the other hand, was someone that was picked out after BVS kind of was going, after the reviews for BVS kind of went downhill. Jeff Johns does not have any experience in movies, though. He
Right.
comes from comic books.
Definitely.
He
He just wrote the
DC's
Oh,
Doomsday
really?
Clock.
That's exciting.
He just
he's
wrote the
DC's
Doomsday
head
Clock. For
creative.
sure.
It's exciting, but also at the same time, you can understand like
You're out of your realm. Almost.
yeah, exactly. Because then you make cool. You can make cool stuff for the fans, but then if you don't, you don't kind of nail it for the general audience. which
people who
is
don't
kinda
know
like-
anything about
Yeah,
it.
exactly.
The,
It's
the
like-
general audiences already aren't vibing with these.
Well,
main
no,
versions of the heroes.
On this one, I heard the user score is pretty close to Thor Ragnarok. So people are
Yeah.
genuinely like, they're like, oh, it's okay.
It's got
you
some
know?
laughs. It's got some
Yeah.
chuckles.
Yeah.
I laughed out loud a couple of times.
Yeah.
So it's pretty interesting. I told John, I said the problem with them is that I think it's a lot of definitely catching up. They're like, man, like we're so far behind Marvel that
20 movies behind.
yeah, exactly. So they a lot of it is that, and two, John's right where it doesn't really translate from comic book to movie, because to me I see a lot of accuracy and I can see where they took it from each story, but it doesn't translate them, because in a comic book you read you're looking at two panels, you see Batman punch Darkseid, and to you, like, and then the next one is Darkseid on the floor.
Yeah.
In your mind you've imagined Batman punched him 100 times. It's not just that one punch and he's down. So in the movie you don't get that option. What you see is basically what you get, on a bunch of it, and I don't think it's it
okay.
suits the process of a movie, I guess.
I don't read too many comic books.
Yeah.
But does Batman pick up guns and shoot people?
He actually
does not.
He
He
did.
doesn't.
He did. Year
He
two,
does.
he carried around
This-
Joe
okay.
Chill's gun the entire time to kill Joe Chill, and he's occasionally broken the rule. And I told John, I said, I think that's where
But that is not the
mistake-
norm. I
That's
don't want to say that.
Right.
That's not
well,
the norm.
and it's just they wanted to break their rules too early, I think, because
Yeah.
Superman killed in the first one. Superman doesn't kill, but Superman has killed. Superman executed 3 people with gold kryptonite. I mean, with kryptonite. I'm sorry, not gold kryptonite takes away their powers, but
There's
He-
something called gold kryptonite.
yeah, it takes away. They have a kryptonite for every color for the most part.
Jesus.
Well,
Yeah,
this
they
is
do.
like this is getting so deep
I
into
know.
the lore right now.
Yeah, but yeah, I know.
This
Sorry,
was-
I work at I work at a
Yeah.
comic book store. Well, I talk. Then that's why, because I work at obviously at Heroes and Fantasies, and
Yeah.
I hear these fans
Obviously.
like thoughts all the time,
Mm.
and a lot of them
Think you're
are
crazy,
the people the people who read the books. They're like, yeah, I loved it. So I rarely hear something bad about it, and then I hear the movie side. They come in and people who are like, no, I'm just into the movies, and that's what's cool about the mainstream right now is the movies. Like if you rely on the mainstream, I guess attraction of the TV shows, cartoons, movies, you're able to hook them, and they want to obviously buy the comic books or they want more.
But the thing is that DC already is established. Well, it was like at least in the '90s, like they were clearly superior to Marvel and like
yeah, and,
everything.
and
You know?
DC is still doing well because they have their crossover for their shows that was a big hit. Everybody's getting crazy
It's
about
great.
that.
It was awesome.
They
The
had
first
the
part of it
Doomsday
was
Clock,
awesome.
which is the in the comics. So you have the shows and then the comics. The comics they're basically crossing over with the Watchmen. It's essentially a sequel to Watchmen.
Yeah,
And then they have their movies, which was their try with Justice League. So they try to hit you with like a heavy hitting month. But to Marvel's only being held up by their movies for sure, and that's all they need. Because I mean, look at these crazy blockbusters that are how it grossed $1 billion. This is the first franchise that grossed $1 billion or whatever. So I just think it's pretty insane and on how people react to both of them so biasly that people who are DC fans will stick to it to the end, that they like those movies better than
like
the Marvel ones.
fascist.
Right.
But
yeah,
like
exactly.
no, my point is that you
Same thing
you
with
have
Marvel.
this. You have you have the IP that DC has.
Mhm.
It's very marketable and it's survived like so long. It's very popular characters, and then you get Justice League that should have been an easy, slam dunk,
Yeah.
real easy. And then it opening weekend, Justice League grosses, was it lower than Iron Man 1?
Yeah.
With when you have Superman, Wonder Woman, Batman, the Flash, you have all these famous superheroes.
I think basically at this point, what killed it was definitely the track record for sure. Is everybody? I mean, there was already a lot of buzz.
But talk about
getting-
brand
was-
devaluating.
Yeah.
Like you should just see Batman and see Superman and just say,
Cha-ching,
yeah, I want to see that movie.
You're right. Yeah.
That should just be what goes
Yeah.
on in your head.
And
that's not what happened.
it sucks because I mean, a lot of it was basically, one, you're obviously course correcting to try to make up for that mistake that you've already made, and then two, I mean, it's kind of tough with the Zach Snyder situation and things like that, because I mean, obviously he left, and who knows how much was directed by Joss Whedon or changed or whatever, reshot, whatever.
You can totally tell.
Yeah, for sure. And I just think that you can't not try, they basically, I know, and Emmanuel said it earlier, he's like, man, I hated when someone said that, is they tried to do the best they could in a crazy situation. One, you're course correcting, and then two, you have this tragedy that basically throws your movie in a loop where it's we already hit a date and we're not going to change it, type of thing, because you're I mean, after this, if not, then Marvel basically takes the cake, which is weird because it's not really, I guess, a competition. You hear both of them I hope they do well, or I mean, they have the Amalgam comics. Hopefully, that's what keeps it interesting in the future, where they'll eventually cross over or whatever. Yeah,
Avengers.
Yeah, exactly.
So it is something that we were already talking about, but you can't ignore is because of the success of Marvel for the past 10, 11 years.
Yeah.
Everything is compared to what is going on in the Disney mega company empire.
Crazy.
I think it
And
just
it's-
boils
it's-
down to a very simple fact though when it comes to rant, DC rant or Marvel rant aside. I mean, just make good movies.
Yeah.
No, that's
at
all
the
I
very
ask
end of the
for,
day.
for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah.
Well, and then that's what I think too, for sure, is that they don't see it as two different mediums. They're it's storytelling, and I
Yeah.
think they need to get their head out of that and definitely do that. Just make solid standalone movies,
Yeah.
and the rest will show up, as it goes. Especially since you have these master storytellers like Jeff Johns too, where he can put a big picture together, but he's not a filmmaker. You need to get somebody else that has that eye, and then he needs to direct those people, I guess, in not so much a controlling
that's what-
studio way.
That's what I was talking to John about before
Uh-huh.
we started the podcast. Was that I was placing a lot of blame on the screenwriter Chris Terry.
Chris Terry,
And,
yeah,
that guy. he wrote, man.
BVS.
He wrote
BVS.
BVS and Justice League
Yeah,
Justice
and
League.
Argo, which are not good movies.
Yeah.
I will say Argo's not a good
I've
movie.
never, didn't watch it.
But his just his beats just don't aren't very good.
Do you
and
see
he has
similar-
a core story, Argo and BVS and Justice League all have these kernel. If you look at the very core of all of them, there's a good movie in there somewhere.
Mhm.
But he just fucks it up with
Yeah.
the beats that he does.
Can you see the similarities between his superhero movies and Argo?
Can I see it?
Yeah. Well, because I haven't seen Argo, so
Yeah, I think so. A lot of Argo is kind of mission based, so it's a movie about these
Oh, yeah.
people
Plot
have to
drama.
Yeah, you're
Okay,
right.
be
yeah, there you go.
smuggled out of
I didn't watch that
what
movie.
country? Iran, I think.
Yeah.
And so a lot
Yeah,
of
right.
it was we
Or
have to
Syria
get
or something.
these
Yeah, yeah.
people trained to look like movie producers, and then
Wow.
we have to get them to go to this, and then we have to get past the airport. So yeah, I think which isn't superhero movies' fault.
Well,
Those
there's
are
no.
superhero movies.
Yeah, there's
Yeah.
Are
Very
the
mission
lack
based.
the lack of character development is just prevalent.
Yeah, that's
within
the
those.
problem, really.
Yeah.
I'm glad that they brought in this Jimmy John's guy.
Yeah,
Like-
yeah. That's a good one. Nice.
Like, a lot of
It's
the
free delivery.
Yeah.
well, it's freaky fast. Like, a lot of the problem with these
that's-
movies is that like I can't relate with the superheroes.
Right.
Like Superman to me isn't like some feelingless like god character. Like when I was growing up watching all these Justice League cartoons, he was like
He's Superman. Like it's
He-
just like he put
yeah.
his-
Smallville went on for years, just
Well,
him
yeah,
being
I
an
I
think
think
awkward
that
teen.
like the okay, so you look at DC. I'm sorry, I'm bringing about the Marvel and DC
Yeah.
thing,
Go for
but
it.
like Marvel, like you have their core thing. Correct me if I'm wrong, but like
Very different.
they are relatable like
yeah,
superheroes.
Yeah,
there's
and
a difference.
so-
And DC's like
The
supposed to be
gods.
like
Yeah.
Yeah.
mythology,
Yeah.
like godlike, and that's
Exactly.
okay.
You're lucky
And,
they're not
you
killing
know,
you.
yeah,
That I think that DC drew obviously the short straw because a lot of their heroes definitely came first.
Dated.
So Marvel
Mhm.
afterwards was like, hey, how can I do that, but a
Grittier.
little bit
Yeah.
more relatable? So I think they're a little bit they're an easier transfer on screen, but that shouldn't be an excuse
thing
because you
is-
saw Wonder Woman.
right.
Wonder Woman was at least a
But
decent
see,
try.
yeah,
You know?
because you can still have like I still read. You can still read like mythology. You can
Oh,
still
yeah.
enjoy those.
Yeah, yeah.
And they that they're gods. It doesn't
Yeah.
matter though.
Mm.
It's just
It
this
just-
interpretation
they
of
said-
it is
Right,
like
yeah.
kind
Exactly.
of not working.
And that's what's wrong with BVS is that it's like I was talking to John again about this. Like you know
You
the
talk to
Jesus
John a
the
lot.
Jesus the Jesus allegory is great, but just do it right.
Yeah, do it right.
Like
also-
Superman
yeah.
Jesus allegory, do it like that's fucking fascinating to
Yeah,
be able to do
yeah,
that.
yeah.
But like it's just he's too brooding.
Yeah,
You know?
and it's just it's not the character. It's too much the other way.
Even in this movie at the beginning when it's opening with that shitty, I hate that new thing.
Snapchat shit.
Yeah,
Oh,
um,
yeah, yeah.
and
The cell
Superman's
phone.
like talking to those kids. He's like grossed out by those kids. He doesn't want to get close to them.
I sure it wasn't his upper lip.
He doesn't-
that
he doesn't
just looked
have, like,
Yeah,
off.
he
Yeah.
looked weird
Oh, God,
as
fuck
well.
that
We'll
upper
we'll
lip.
talk about the movie and stuff later. Let's stick with his DC overview thing.
Okay,
Yeah.
yeah.
But yeah, so I wanted to add to what Brian was saying about interpretation. It's all about interpretation, really. At
Right.
the end of the day, Adam told me that he blames Chris Terrio. I blame Zack Snyder because they
No, I gave Zack
Let's
Snyder
play
a
the
fair
blame
amount.
game.
You know,
Who
and-
all
And
blame.
and it's so crazy because it's like you tip the boat too far one way and it's too much and
Yeah.
because at first it started with Superman Returns, too boring, need more action. Then you hit him with Man of Steel, too much action, I need more boring. And then now it was like, hey,
That's not it at all,
and
though.
now
Like, it's just
it was like, hey, we want Zack Snyder out, and then suddenly this happens, and everybody's like, hey, I want a director's cut of Zack Snyder stuff. And I'm like, fuck, like
Wait,
it's
what are you saying,
definitely
John?
hard. Yeah, go ahead.
I was just saying, like, it's not that at all because I was like, Superman Returns had some very enjoyable moments. I enjoyed Superman Returns better than
I-
Man of
yeah,
Steel.
I-
Like,
I
like
love-
it
Quentin
better than Man of Steel.
Tarantino thinks it's a masterpiece.
I mean, compared to
I
Man
do
of
love
Steel, it is
Superman
like
Returns.
we can't talk about it anymore. Kevin Spacey's in
Yeah.
it.
Oh, nice.
Oh, yeah.
Damn, damn.
Anyway,
you
um,
fucked-
Baby Driver never happened either.
yeah, damn it.
But it's like, at the very when they hired Zack Snyder to do all this stuff, like he sent it in a direction where he thought, like, it's his interpretation of Superman, his
Yeah.
interpretation of Batman is kind of a little bit on the nose. I mean, because he kind of fits more of the Batman, realm than the Superman realm. But this was all his baby from the start. Like he wanted to have like this brooding Superman who is super realistic. And while the concept sounds fine on paper, like the way it was done was just kind of weird because we were watching Man of Steel a couple of weeks ago, me and Brian, or even BVS. Remember we
it's
were
BVS,
we were riffing on
Jesus.
on Man of Steel about like about this one key scene to me, like, is just wrong. And that's to me is like, this is Zack Snyder's, like, in his head, this is his Superman. It's when Superman lets his father die, like by a tornado.
Oh Jesus!
The
yeah.
real Superman wouldn't, like, any other
cares?
version
Yeah.
of Superman would not do that, like, at all.
Okay,
Would
so
not do that.
that in you guys brought up Quentin Tarantino. Do you guys remember like in Kill Bill 2 where she like sits down and she's talking to Bill
Right.
and Bill's
Talking
like
about Superman. Yeah.
he's talking about Superman like superheroes alter egos and he says that Clark Kent is his disguise
Yeah, it's his.
and it's like weak and cowardly and all this stuff. I don't know if I agree with that about Superman. I think didn't Superman grow up like as Clark Kent for like years
Yeah,
before
I
he
mean,
was Superman? Like
Yeah.
Superman is his disguise, right? Like how do you guys feel about that?
He was, well, and that, I think I know how to answer that. That part, he was basically just answering the classic version of Superman, like he's kind of talking about it. Because Superman, the original Silver Age version of Superman, like pre-1980s
Yeah.
Superman,
Mm.
has two Clark Kent personas. In other words, like one Clark Kent persona is the farm boy who grew up as Clark Kent.
Mm.
The second Clark Kent is the actual bumbling, like, bumping into shit and stuff like that because he's trying to draw attention away from him being Superman.
Right.
Okay.
That's
He's
what
just
he
fake.
was-
There's
that's what
no
he was-
real Superman. He's all
There's-
fake. He doesn't know who
Yeah.
he is.
Technically, I mean,
So I think it boils down a lot of, and partially because of Marvel, but well, again, this is they have no excuse. They're making their own movies, but a lot of things are really reactionary, at least for DC, which is tough, and that's why the first movie, Man of Steel, was so important, because if that movie was better or it was absolutely perfect, I think they would have been more hands off and said, you know what, Zach, here's
just
here
go
are the
do it.
keys, drive. But because that movie didn't do as well as they thought, they reacted to every comment or concern
and
that
I think-
happened. People dying, which
They
is
brought
a
up in
huge thing.
BBS.
So now every fight's in an abandoned something.
for sure.
If a movie like Deadpool comes out, they're like, well, let's write more jokes into it. And he lost control of this this cruise ship. It's a
And-
lot easier in Marvel because there's a blank page. No one knows who these superheroes are. You can do whatever you want, and it's like you have a speedboat. You can course correct as many times as you want. But Zack Snyder had a cruise ship that he couldn't control, and eventually you're kind of just lost at sea. Damn, that's good. Write that down.
That's just
Idea for Aquaman
I just
movie.
think when you hire the wrong person for the job, I mean, you can make the best that you can with them. I mean, I like Man of Steel. Like I like the effort, and it's probably
Yeah, it was an alright movie.
yeah. And
I
it's like
like Man
it's
of
it's
Steel.
it's it's a masterpiece compared to some of these other DC movies.
Oh yeah.
But like that's just it though. Like I should feel stronger about that movie than I do right now.
Yeah.
Wait, who was the villain in Man of Steel? I don't remember this.
General
one.
Zod.
General Zod.
Oh, that was the one where he breaks his neck.
Yeah,
Michael Shannon, dude.
Okay.
Michael Shannon.
He's
huh?
like one of
Who
the
does he
most
fight
memorable.
in the second one?
BVS. He fought
Oh,
Batman.
and
And
Lex
then-
Luthor and
and then
Doomsday.
I'm thinking, okay, wait, what about Superman Returns? Is that just a different? That was
This
a
is Lex
different-
This
Luthor.
stuff is, yeah,
That's
Well,
the
it's
Christopher-
Lex Luthor.
that's the
right?
and
Christopher
weirdly,
Reeve
they're on a
storyline.
boat as well, right?
Yeah, they're
Yeah.
on the boat.
Huh, more boats. All right, well, let's get started with just this movie. So enough about DC. We know they have problems, and we've probably diagnosed 10 of them, but maybe 11.
Maybe more.
But
Probably gonna be
let's-
more before the podcast is out.
Let's hone in on this one movie, Justice League. This is a movie that was planned well before anything happened with a lot of things. This movie was going to be made probably a decade ago. People were already planning a movie
Yeah.
like this.
Fun
George-
fact: did you know that George
George
Miller
Miller.
was
Yeah,
attached
exactly.
to Justice League?
Army Hammer, Jay
You
Bruchel.
mean Filthy
Hammer.
Frank,
yeah.
the
Filthy
popular
Frank?
YouTuber?
I guess so.
George Miller, yeah, that's his name.
But,
No,
Is that what he goes for?
He's got like
the
four
studio
names.
went all in with Zack Snyder and his vision of the movie. So we talk about the advantage that Marvel has, having 4, 5, 6 movies before they combine all of their superheroes, and DC does that very quickly.
Yeah.
In 2 movies, really 1. But what were your first impressions of this first Justice League? Who wants to go first?
Brian, you
Oh,
should
I
yeah.
gotta go first.
Yeah.
All right.
Nice.
I thought it was funny. That
All
was,
right, let's. I'm kidding. Oh yeah, go.
That was probably like the thing like about it that stood out to me the most was like I had a good time watching it.
Mm.
I laughed a lot, and I was one of those people who like at the beginning I thought they were moving too fast.
Oh, yeah.
Halfway through I thought this is dragging, and then by the end I was like I'm glad this is over. So it wasn't terrible. It wasn't good, and I kind of want that Zack Snyder cut.
That was the same description that I used for sex. Am I right? I want that Zack Snyder cut. Adam, what are your first impressions of this movie?
I thought it was fine. I felt like I was getting sleepy during some parts. I didn't care about the plot at all. Like, I was like, who cares that there's this Steppenwolf guy? Who cares about this cube thing? Who cares about these characters wanting to meet up? But when they met up, I was like, oh, this is funny. This is fine. All the character stuff was actually really enjoyable. Like the Flash was a highlight to me. Like he was really charming. Batman was a little weird because like he was joking more, which just didn't make any sense.
But you also got the sense he wanted to die or something.
Yeah. He's like, I'm just tired of all this shit, and I just want.
If he kills
I
me,
got all
kills
these
me.
bruises on my back, Diana. I got all these bruises. But
massage.
But here's a joke.
but it's just like the movie was just all over the place. It was a big old mess. I feel like if they just like the action scenes were cool, but also like at the same time, I just didn't care. Weirdly enough, because I was like, there's no tension because I know that they got 20 more movies lined up. No one's gonna die, and I think like I don't want to get into that now, but I want to get into that later, just about like
The
franchise,
stakes.
yeah, like stakes.
You want to get to that Infinity War level stakes, like
the
now.
phases that they have.
Because I kind of do
Yeah.
too. Like that's why I mean, it's one of the I think flaws of the comic book movie genre in general
Yeah,
is that like these things become episodic, and you kind of don't know when something real is going to happen.
well, that's the thing that makes the Dark Knight so good in the sense that the scope was small, and you just didn't know, like with the two boats, that
yeah.
moral predicament, and it's like, well, I don't. Like Christopher Nolan effectively like tricked the audience saying like you don't know what's gonna happen, and that adds tension. While like this Justice League movie is like no one's gonna fucking
Yeah,
die.
you know the world's
Like,
not going to end.
Yeah, like they got the Aquaman movie coming up. Like I don't.
Yeah.
Steppenwolf, he's like, and Steppenwolf was so boring. Like I was like, who the fuck is this guy? He just wants to destroy stuff. Oh, that's so compelling to me, And honestly, like it. That's what I mean by fine. It was just like, I mean, I didn't hate it and I didn't love it either, but it
Andrew,
just hit all the points.
What did you think?
I was pretty biased going into this movie, so I thought it was fun as fuck. Definitely a moving comic book. I think they have the Marvel problem too of their villain, where that's like one of the things that Marvel continuously
Absolutely.
gets criticized for, and that's why I hope that this Fox acquisition goes well with them, because they have kind of like Marvel's big three. I mean, no one knew who Thanos was 10 years ago. You saw the end of the first Avengers, and I remember someone asking me, "Is that the Red Skull?" I was like, "No, bitch." But
oddly, we're already scared of him before this movie comes
yeah,
out.
exactly.
I'm sorry
Because
to
of-
interrupt,
go ahead.
but like, that's what's so funny about Suicide Squad, because DC like obviously has the better villains.
yeah,
And they just totally fucked up
Screwing 'em right
Suicide
now.
Squad.
yeah,
Like all the good villains are in the DC universe.
yeah,
Like, they just
yeah, exactly.
Did not
So
execute well.
I think they definitely have that problem. Partially, maybe it's because they don't want to show you too much. Like they don't just want to hit you with Darkseid right now.
That's basically like Thanos.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
it-
exactly.
But
yeah.
it's weird because they hit you with like Justice League and
right.
That is
Who
true, yeah,
knows?
too, because it was like it's a Justice League movie,
Yeah, yeah.
and the first villain is Steppenwolf, like a
Yeah.
fucking C grade villain. Like
Yeah.
he's a villain in the comics. I'm not like
Yeah,
whatever, fucking like what fuck Steppenwolf, but I'm just saying like they
Darkseid's
give him
nephew.
no Starro, no not even a Lex Luthor, I guess in this case.
Yeah,
No there's another big one. No Darkseid. That's the weird thing. Like Darkseid
that's
is
why
like,
if they do continue with these movies, I don't mind them doing like a Legion of Doom smaller scale thing, rather than like Darkseid's the next
Yeah.
villain, because it would be essentially the same fucking thing.
scale down
But-
first and then scale back up.
Anyway, as a Superman fan, I loved it because I mean, again, it was mostly geek out moments the first time where I was like, "Holy shit, I can't believe I'm watching this!" And I get the chance to, experience this stuff, and it was supposed to be for sure iconic because you get these cinematic debut of a lot of these characters in one movie, which is partially the problem, I guess.
And fighting together.
Yeah. So initially after that, I was like, "Fuck, that was fun." And then the second time, I was like, "All right, now I guess I can probably go see."
Get
I saw it the
cozy-
second time.
Cozy up to this.
Yeah, I
movie.
was like, now I can pick it apart.
See, you had the feeling that a lot of people had with Marvel Avengers because all the
Right.
characters were very established with the movies and everyone
Yeah.
saw the movies.
Yeah.
So that's why Justice League didn't click as much because people didn't have
Yeah,
they're
and
not in your background of comics.
Exactly.
You know?
Like you're not
yeah.
spending the entire movie trying to
The
introduce these characters that you
contexts,
don't
yeah.
know.
It was.
So-
It reminded me of that Spider-Man 3 prob where
Yeah,
people were
where
like,
they just
"Here are
added
these
Venom just
4
because,
Yeah,
or whatever.
origin
But
stories.
I could see.
you know who that
Yeah,
person is.
yeah, exactly.
sure.
That's why I can see what Brian was saying about like I don't know what the fuck's going on because like again Aquaman wasn't relevant till like 2 years ago until Jason Momoa was cast as him. No one gave a
Right.
fuck about him. Everybody was just making gay jokes about him, and everybody was just making fun that he can talk to fish, and that was it. So
Seaman.
and then Cyborg was got popular with the Teen Titans, so that's cool. But I mean, this is not the Cyborg that you're used to. He's definitely more brooding than Superman was in the past 2 movies.
Everyone in this movie is contemplating like death. Or
Yeah, for sure. But
very upsetting.
But yeah, again, I expected to say
Seriously.
a lot more bad stuff the second time. I still had bad things to say because no
Yeah.
movie's perfect or whatever. But I was able to pick some stuff out that I didn't like.
Have you seen The Croods?
Have you seen
But
Blade
yeah.
Runner 2049?
Yeah,
That's pretty
good
perfect.
movie.
Have you seen? Yeah, have you
Yeah.
seen Blade Runner?
Yeah.
2049. Okay, cool. You paid
Yeah, I've
for
seen
it
it.
too, right? You
Yeah.
didn't just like
Yeah.
fucking walk
Yeah.
into Justice League,
know.
right?
Yeah, and then so after that, I was like, I still liked it. So
John?
I actually kind of I first impressions watching it was really fun. I went in expecting to absolutely hate it because DC. I didn't hate the other DC movies. I mean, every movie. I mean, I like probably Wonder Woman is probably like the best one. Man of Steel is a very close second. BVS is third, and obviously Suicide Squad's at the bottom of the list. But all of those movies have Wonder Woman being just really good. I guess I'm talking about the other three. All of those movies have at least good moments in them. So, but they're not. They all kind of stick. They don't stick the landing. So I was kind of expecting the same thing with Justice League, and I kind of got it. But I had a little bit I had a little bit more fun than I thought I was going to. So, and then watching it multiple times after that. I mean, I didn't. I don't know. I was disappointed by the way the story went. I guess, or like the way. I was disappointed by the lack of character development. There you go. Because everyone's kind of just doing things. They're not really like changing or anything.
It was like mission based. Like
yeah,
Argo.
exactly. And
Oh,
so, like,
hey,
Dang Argo.
I don't want to be part of this team. You know what? Actually, I do
Yeah,
want to be
exactly.
part of this team.
and also for the fact that the way the Avengers kind of came together, you knew that they actually needed a team for this shit.
And there were movies based on the organization of the team. Like, how often did they talk about S.H.I.E.L.D.?
Right.
And how often was there this fight between when do we call them, when do we leave them alone
I like that, but then
situation?
at this movie though, the only thing that just got me was at the very end of it, you knew you didn't need a team, you just needed Superman because Superman makes
Yeah,
the
that
rest of
was
the team
that's
obsolete.
annoying.
again, that's why as a Superman fan, I was like, fuck yeah. We don't
No,
need
that's
that
what it
shit.
was-
We don't need that team. Get the team off. Superman, get in there.
Make more Superman movies, not just
Yeah.
those movies.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was fun. So I liked it.
The movie was obviously, I don't know. I thought it was okay. Thought it was just fine.
Just fine.
But just fine would have been a really good movie in like 2005.
Oh,
or
and
No, I was
2004.
talking to that with my buddy Brent about if this movie came out in the late 90s,
Oh hell.
Oh,
it'd probably
billions.
be fucking amazing.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
compare this
Hell-
to the first Fantastic Four,
Yeah.
or movies that happened,
Yeah.
movies that were successful
Yeah.
in that era, but now
Pre
we
MCU
have-
Marvel movies, basically,
yeah,
like Daredevil, and Blade.
before
yeah.
they trusted these movies and filled them with Academy Award winning actors and gave them to auteur filmmakers who. Like Kenneth Branagh, who made a Thor movie and had all the Dutch angles that he usually likes in a Thor movie. So I think this movie just didn't do anything more than
just be a movie.
Then,
That's all it really
yeah,
is.
yeah, accomplish the missions.
Well, and
you're right. Yeah, I think Adam, you had some the themes were there. A lot of the MacGuffins were there. You have a Batman who's old and is tired. There's some, or maybe even grumpy or jaded.
And
You-
it's funny. I thought it was so funny because Ray Fisher had tweeted something and was like, "Cyborg is gonna represent all basically all the people with disabilities or prosthetics and things like that." And I
Yeah.
didn't see any of that in the movie.
What?
I was like, "Whoa, this is weird."
I was
He's
like,
like,
what
"Yeah,
the
it's gonna
fuck
give
are
them
you
something to
talking
stand
about?
for."
All of
Yeah,
his,
and
sports
I
stuff.
thought that was
Yeah, they do
pretty
put on
interesting.
the-
Oh, like how Batista's for the autistic kids or something.
yeah,
or
yeah,
Whoa,
exactly.
I didn't
Yeah,
know that.
where it's like, yeah.
That's
Yeah.
just probably the actor just
Yeah,
trying
I
to
thought that was-
stretch
I thought that
whatever
was
they're
pretty-
they're
pretty-
playing.
No,
Yeah,
I just heard a
interesting or
story
funny.
about this autistic kid and said, "Hey, that's like me."
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
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 that's
yeah.
cool,
And,
my bad.
Yeah.
that's
I
basically.
would think Groot was more.
Who's a tree?
Oh, okay.
No, how he takes everything literally.
yeah,
and it's
exactly.
Oh, I see what
Uh-huh.
you're saying.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah, I heard
anyways,
that
yeah, Justice League also I think had a lot of the notes from the studio
A lot.
taken super literally,
Crazy.
with no pushback,
Yeah.
zero pushback.
Yeah.
It was, hey, we need Superman to reshoot some scenes, and everyone said, okay, let's do it.
Yeah.
Let's put it in the movie. And he runs off to do a side mission to save some people, although he can just kill the bad guy now. Yeah. Or we need more Wonder Woman. Wonder Woman did well, so here's more Wonder Woman. And a lot of it was just so obvious, even for people who don't follow this stuff. You could go into that movie and be like, huh, I think they added that scene because
You're right.
they wanted to, or there was something that they did there that just felt
Like the
super
tone
off.
just keeps shifting and
Mhm.
within
joke
the
that they
same
threw in.
sequence, and
Yeah.
it's like fucking weird. It's fun.
Yeah, you can watch like the trailers and everything's like the sky is all dark and stormy, and the same scenes in the movie are like there's a blue sky and there's birds chirping.
And there's classic Zack Snyder concrete falling from everywhere in an abandoned
It's
place.
slow-mo.
But I thought there was a lot that could have happened that
It
just didn't.
again, it should have been great because I mean, you have Danny Elfman coming back to score. You have Joss Whedon attached to it. You have Chris Terrio, who won an Oscar for Argo or whatever.
Yeah.
You have Ben Affleck. You know, yeah. You have
Yeah.
yeah. You know, again, you had all the right people working on it, but I think it was a lot for sure. Like it's crazy on how there's
Can I
no
just
creative
say-
force behind
Can
it.
I just say why Argo won? Can I just say why?
Because it's about Hollywood.
Because it's about Hollywood.
Yeah,
You're
yeah,
right.
yeah, exactly.
It's about fucking
I wouldn't
Hollywood.
be
it's just
surprised if
biased.
Harvey
Yeah.
Weinstein produced that movie.
Nice.
Look it up,
Yeah,
everyone.
yeah, yeah.
I
Yeah,
bet you.
You know,
somehow, some
Chris
way.
Terrio raped. Well, I'm just not.
We're
I'm
getting
stop
into
right
it.
there.
Yeah.
Here we go, guys. We've got a list. We're gonna go through.
Yep.
it.
Yeah.
It's gonna take us all.
You
week
heard it here
long.
first.
So how good, or what sort of job do you think Joss Whedon did coming into this movie? Because there was a lot of turmoil
Okay.
in
man,
mid-movie,
yeah.
He did the best. He could.
switching
could,
gears
yeah.
and getting a new, director. I don't think you can get anyone more qualified. Here's the guy that made Avengers.
And it was
to
funny
come
because
in.
I was reading Identity Crisis, the DC book or whatever, and Joss Whedon does a prologue, and at the very bottom it says future director of the Wonder Woman movie.
Ooh.
Yeah, and that was way before he did Avengers.
Oh,
He
01
had a
and
pitch,
02.
right? Because
Yeah.
he was the Buffy
No,
guy.
he was actually
so they're like,
attached.
this guy knows.
Yeah.
He was attached, and like
And
they didn't go through because apparently like they didn't believe in his they didn't believe in the actual character. Like
Yeah.
they kind of attached him like the way. Like kind of like the way the Ghost Rider movie attached whoever the hell was attached to that one, like Mark Stevenson Johnson. Like it was back in the era when no one really gave a shit about superhero movies. They were just kind of there.
Mm-hmm.
But Joss Whedon apparently, he was attached
Was
to
that
it.
was that must have been after Nicholas Winding Refn was
before.
in talks.
It was before.
It was
that.
before him?
Yeah, it was before that. Because Nicholas
Man.
Winding Refn, yeah, I remember that too.
I wish I could have seen that movie.
Whoa,
Christina Hendricks.
Imagine that shit. It
as
would've been
Wonder Woman.
So weird, and probably really cool.
That would be really cool though.
So
Yeah.
Joss,
and he
Joss,
was always
yeah.
a bigger fan of DC, and he's still attached to the Batgirl movie even after
Yeah,
this
for
whole.
sure.
I heard his
stuff.
Wonder Woman scripts suck though, like
I'm not
really,
sure.
really bad.
Well, his
I remember
scripts suck
hearing
in
he
general.
You can't write
but,
for women.
yeah.
It's just a thing. I think he added a lot of
Patty
the
Jenkins can probably. Yeah.
he added a lot of the humor. I think a lot of the
Yeah,
funnier things.
For sure.
A lot of the cooler things were like when Superman. You guys do spoilers, right? You guys.
Yeah,
do-
oh,
Yeah, let's
Okay.
do it now.
So
I mean,
whenever
if you're in
whenever
it.
Superman comes back to life and he's like shirtless on that like plaza, and like
Looking
the
hot.
Flash like runs past
Yeah.
him and
Wow.
he moves his eyes and
to-
it's like not today, motherfucker. I can see you.
Yeah.
That was like one of the coolest
That was
moments.
really
I
cool.
agree.
That was-
I know. I
that
freaked out,
was-
and again,
yeah.
as a Superman fan too, I was like, "Fuck,
and
I'm so
that's
fucking wet."
I felt like that was a Joss Whedon moment, and like that's one of those trailer moments too, where the sky is like suddenly like bright.
Yeah, white.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that is weird because this is, I think we've said brooding a million times, but that's the Zack Snyder dark, hopeless thing. And
Outlook.
Joss Whedon has like a comedic side to him. And in this movie, you had both, and it was weird. They just needed one more director, and it would have been like a Justice League of directors.
Justice
Yeah.
League directors.
John Favreau or something. Someone
Right.
else. The
Patty
Russo
Jenkins,
brothers.
they just threw
Yeah,
it up
Patty
there.
Jenkins.
Do you, who else would you have picked, or who else do you think would have done a great job with a Justice League movie? I know it's a shoulda, coulda, woulda segment.
You mean
but
before
before Snyder,
just like from
Just
Inception?
from
like,
Inception?
okay.
So I guess Christopher Nolan from
Christopher
Inception.
Nolan, right, yeah.
Or Whedon, like from the start.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
think
Whedon from the start,
Yeah.
right?
definitely you need to get someone like the Russo brothers or Whedon that come from a background where they could write for a fuck ton of characters.
Oh, I have a theory about why they hire brothers directors. You get two directors. What,
For the price of one.
That's just
Yeah,
great.
like
for
it
any
could make
movie.
it happen.
yeah, you get to split.
You can have two meetings happening at the same time. That's why Stranger Things does well, and why they hired two people for Infinity Wars. And it's legal. Like the DGA, if they weren't brothers, no, have one director because they're
Oh,
bros.
that's wild. They have to be
It's
really.
cool.
Oh,
You can
that's
have it.
interesting.
That's why Robert Rodriguez left
The
the DGA. They
Wachowskis.
wouldn't let him and Sin City. Who made Sin City?
Rob Rodriguez.
Robert Rodriguez and
Tarantino.
Tarantino.
Zack Snyder.
No, Frank
No,
Miller.
Frank
Frank
Miller.
Miller.
Frank
Miller.
He wanted a co-directing credit, and they said no. So Rodriguez
not
left.
part
He's
of
like,
DGA.
screw this. I'm out of here.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Wow.
Anyways, that's just a side note.
Okay.
You guys should make movies. Andrew and John,
Yeah.
you'd get it
Yeah.
so quick because they got a 2-for-1 bonus special.
Yeah.
We gotta split the salary though.
You don't have to, Andrew. Just kidding.
You're right.
But yeah, so who would you guys
Would
pick?
take
Who would be a good? I guess Joss Whedon from the start.
Yeah, I said Whedon.
That's a good. That's an
Yeah.
easy one.
It is
Obviously, straight from. It's kind of like how you think the person that made Gone with the Wind and Wizard of Oz made them in the same year. Is Joss Whedon made Avengers and Justice League
in the same
like, in
decade.
the same decade? That's just bonkers. Lucky guy.
I don't know.
All right.
can't
Well,
think
No, that's a tough
Like
one. Yeah.
I don't know why this has come to mind, but like I feel like Spielberg would have done an all right job, but like only because I'm thinking of like ensemble-y,
Ensemble
Yeah,
speed.
yeah,
like
yeah,
the
right.
Goonies.
yeah, or
No,
like
he didn't make the Goonies.
what is Saving Private Ryan?
Yeah.
Like a bunch of people.
Yeah, yeah, Saving
Yeah.
Private Ryan.
But
Yes.
I don't know. I feel like also he's over it.
Yeah.
It's too late for
No,
him.
Spielberg is just
Like in the
old and
90s, he
doesn't
would've
give a
killed
shit
it, like-
Bring
anymore.
on Ready
Yeah.
Player One.
I know.
Big
He's like,
bitch.
I can still do the Justice League. I'm doing Ready Player One. Just
Yeah,
throw him
right.
into the mix of.
I think like George
stuff.
Miller probably would have done a good job if he would have actually given.
The casting
job.
choices were interesting.
Well, no, I'm not saying that movie. That movie still probably would have been good,
Yeah.
but I think if George Miller was given like a DC project, he probably would have killed it.
Yeah.
Like it would have been badass.
Well,
Yeah,
it is
who-
weird.
who's-
Like these movies are, and it's odd. I mean, we compared it about Marvel, but a lot of the Marvel movies are about something beyond just the plot of the movie. For example,
Sometimes.
sometimes Winter Soldier, a lot of NSA stuff, a lot of spying stuff, and like, should we be using this technology?
Political thriller.
That's like, yeah, it's a
Yeah,
political thriller.
exactly.
And or it could be something really personal, like PTSD and Iron Man 3, or something about something. And so it really, you're looking for someone who can make this movie transcend just the theme of the movie. Like,
Yeah.
it's great to kill the bad guy, but what actually happened?
What else?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
like I don't want to knock comics or superheroes too much, but like essentially, like from their beginnings, they're naturally fascist in the sense that like you have to. Well, I mean, with like Justice League, for example,
Yeah.
like you would have to, like, there's this overwhelming force, like an evil person, an obviously evil person, and that's what unites everybody against that entity. Let's all like join up and like fight this force.
Yeah.
And that's like a fascist philosophy, is that like you establish an enemy and everyone within your nation will follow suit and fight this enemy.
Yeah.
So
Gotta have
like
an enemy.
yeah. So like the Marvel is taking this sort of way where it's like let's get out of this like clear black and white sort of thing that comics are usually about, and let's explore other ideas, just like you said in Winter Soldier. Civil War was great too, because it's like you have two different philosophies like
Yeah,
going
never-
at
there's
it.
No real right or wrong.
Exactly.
It's gray. It's all gray.
And
area.
BVS, like I remember I didn't actually watch like the was it who did the cartoon Batman versus Superman? Was it Frank Miller?
Oh,
No,
yeah, right. Yeah, well, that's Frank Miller's book. Yeah, Dark Knight Returns.
Right, and it was two different philosophies. It was like this Ayn Rand Batman who is like this like Superman. Like he's like this like I'm a human and I am
Yeah.
my
Man for the
my
people,
my
or-
will is what makes like I'm smart because of myself. I'm strong because of myself. And like through sheer will, like Batman is great, while Superman's more of like
the puppet of
yeah,
like,
the
the government
puppet
or
of the
whatever,
government,
yeah.
and it's a good boy, a good
Right.
Boy Scout, and you see those philosophies like fight each other,
Mhm.
and that's really compelling and interesting. While
And
like,
this one is just
this one's like, oh,
I'm rich.
well, yeah,
What's your superpower? I'm rich.
exactly. There's no, it's just so simplistic, you know. Like there's there's still a lot of interesting ideas displayed by like the cartoons and the comics,
Right.
but it's just didn't come to fruition.
And yeah,
Justice League.
I think it's definitely one of those things where like this was the movie to go too much on, and they didn't. I guess it was very very generic, for sure
Mhm.
on the everything
yeah.
from the outline, from the plot.
Everything.
You know,
Like, there's like okay, we talk a little bit about the plot and how ridiculous it was?
For sure.
Okay,
Hmm.
when he kills that first like bug monster in the beginning, Batman
Yeah,
kills one,
Parademon.
and it just melts onto the wall. Why are there 3 squares on it?
Yeah, it was
like,
supposed to
I'm
be
just
something
like,
important,
There's a
right?
clue.
I think it
There's
was
3
the-
squares.
Those the mother boxes?
Yeah,
Yeah.
but we don't get how.
Why it's like
How did
it's
that
happen?
tattooed? Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, you do. I mean, this is even a stretch because I know DC pretty well. I know
Yeah.
Parademons and Mother Boxes and
They're-
stuff. I don't know how the fuck that that just happens.
That's
Like
very-
just
they do explode when they're caught like that, but
they don't leave like an imprint.
Yeah, they don't
like
leave that imprint. That
And, like,
imprints, their imprints new.
dude,
But it
that
is the
scene-
symbol that they use for Apocalypse
Yeah.
or Dark
Again,
Side.
just for the sake of plot, I guess. For
Yeah.
that
I
I
point.
think we
Batman.
never did get that scope that the world was under attack. Everything was through a Batman's eyes
Yeah.
or them looking at news clips, and it was never a normal person
well,
seeing one or anything that
You know, that's actually a really
makes
great
you be
point.
like, whoa, this is something that's happening
Like
in the
you
world.
knew it was a world-ending thing, but yet there wasn't any like actual
Indication,
displays
yeah,
of
yeah.
world-ending.
This
things.
is, I think, this is part of those studio notes, right?
The
No,
closest-
you don't want
probably,
anyone to get
yeah.
hurt or die.
Yeah.
The closest you got was that little family, and you could tell they were building up
which
for
was
that-
totally
yeah.
stupid.
Yeah,
we saw them
They
like
had
10 minutes
just
into
thrown
the
it in.
movie.
Oh, we're supposed to care about these.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
didn't get the
exact-
memo like
and
that we care
they were
about.
like,
these
I
it's
was
mostly
like,
abandoned.
fucking kill him,
Yeah.
kill him.
It's mostly
Well, I
abandoned.
thought
but
they
there's
were,
one
like,
family.
The thing is, like, I thought they were like protecting the box or something.
Yeah, yeah.
Because it was like, why are they showing them? Oh, they must
no.
like
They
have
just
one of
lived
the
in a box.
boxes.
They were in the vicinity.
No, they were just there. Yeah,
Yeah.
I was like,
no,
why?
it was some
Who cares?
Russian meltdown.
Yeah.
like nuclear.
And they were the only, God, and this is part of those reactions about killing people. They were like, "Are there any people that live there?" No, but
Yeah.
there's some families on the outlying
Yeah.
ones
Batman
that
doesn't kill
might
people.
get hurt.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He just kills a bunch of bug monsters.
yeah.
But yeah, the scope is missing a lot. There wasn't even like a Michael Bay shows the moon or a satellite and something coming towards
Well,
Earth.
actually-
so people are like, "Whoa, something's happening."
Again, this doesn't make it any more valid because this shit was obviously cut out. But remember when we watched BVS, the Ultimate Cut, me and Brian did, and Andrew was here too. They added that scene, remember, at the very end where Lex Luthor's actually talking to Steppenwolf like in a hologram.
Oh yeah.
And yeah, that's
Whoa.
not in the main movie. But again, you wouldn't
You wouldn't know that.
again, yeah, you wouldn't get
Wait,
that
why is
from
he
it.
talking to him?
Yeah, exactly. Why is he talking to him?
Oh,
That's
okay,
the
so
other thing, too. A lot of the-
Apparently he went
tells
to
the computer and says like, "Tell me everything" or whatever.
Yeah, you're supposed to take that, tell me everything, and then like Luthor went insane from all the information and was
that's why he was
actually
all fucking
contacting
crazy or
Steppenwolf.
whatever.
I think
himself.
that's why a lot of this movie
Well-
feels dated like we feel it is from like the earlier movies is a lot of the plot is delivered through computer files or
exposition, like just
exposition or
we have to do
file
this.
folders.
Yeah.
And I think that's something we did a long time ago. But now there are so many other devices to, push the story forward and instead of
Yeah,
like
they
a
just didn't
5-minute
care. They
monologue.
found the easiest way to tell a story. They said, "How are we going to bring Superman back to life?"
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. There's a puddle full of water. We'll throw the block
him in
on
there,
it,
yeah.
and then you run and touch it at the same time.
And
That's
he'll
the
lose his
same
shirt.
thing.
With a box of
Yeah.
power.
And that's the thing that made Doomsday, right? Is that
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's the
the
change
exact
that
same
made
that's the
thing.
thing that brought back Zod.
But they
as
didn't do
Doomsday.
that.
Right.
But they didn't make anything.
They didn't make
crazy.
a
So-
Clark Doomsday there.
Tell me this, which is interesting to me. Was Superman supposed to be evil? Have you heard this theory or this thing where
No.
they obviously shot a fight sequence where he comes back and tries to kill the Justice League, but was that supposed to be one of the main things that
Like
they
in-
course corrected at
like in
some point?
Continuity or in what what
Like-
what Snyder originally had in
In
mind.
what's he had originally in mind?
Rumor has it that Snyder originally had in because Justice League was supposed to be a two-parter, like the way Infinity War was.
Yeah.
Oof, man.
Justice League was supposed to be part one,
You're aiming high.
and then part two. Rumor has it that like Snyder's version of the story, when he was still attached to both parts, like that the first one, Superman came back as a villain,
Dude,
so that he
hell
could come
yes.
back as in the second movie, he would come back as a full-on, like the way Adam said, Jesus character, like
That would've been
bright
awesome.
Superman as
well,
fuck.
that's stupid.
That would have
Well,
been
but-
worth watching. That would have
But
been
in
great.
BVS, there's also
needs to
the-
die,
that
then
flash
be
forward
resurrected.
dream thing that doesn't mean anything anymore, right? Or was that you know what I'm talking about? Where
Yeah. See, that's another thing that you probably didn't like. We didn't get out of that's something that was up in the air because again, that was all Snyder's vision. Like he had,
and that's why I think
plan
it
for
was.
that, and
I
then it
think
just
that
cut
was
that
his
shit out.
plan. I think his plan was that Superman
was going to come
was
back
going to
like
be
evil.
straight up
Yeah.
be evil, and they were going to reference that thing from BVS where the Flash comes back to tell him.
Oh,
you know-
yeah,
There's supposed to be a
the
potential
Injustice
reality
little-
though. It was
yeah.
like
Yeah.
kind of like a Back to the Future type of thing.
But that's
It's like-
enticing. I thought that was enticing, and I feel like that was. I feel like they had already shot so many scenes that way
They
because there was
Probably did.
That
there
would
are
have been dope. That would have been so fucking cool.
he tries to attack them And then there's this kind of odd on the farm scene separate from the rest of the movie that happened. And then even the final battle, you could have edited Superman out of the final battle, and it would have been okay. Or edited him trying to kill all the people, and it would have
been a more
okay.
interesting fight too. You can't just have Superman show up and save the day. And it's like
You try to kill Superman.
They should have because remember how in that sequence, Cyborg's like, I gotta fucking hack this box thing, and then and then of course like Steppenwolf is like. He rips his fucking leg out. And I was like, oh, shit, that's crazy. But then Superman's like, well, I got to go save those people. See you guys later.
Yeah.
And if I think that was a great moment. If they just had, like, played on that more to where it's like, Superman's like, hey, guys, I know that you're trying to save the world with, like, hacking that box thing. But I'm going to prioritize, like,
this
these
family.
people.
Because you
a
saw
Superman
them 10 minutes into the
do.
movie.
Yeah, it's very Superman-like.
So I was like, oh, that's a good flourish. But they didn't.
But it felt like he was just leaving.
Use it too much because he just came back and then he just like started fighting again. If they like lingered more to where you're like Cyborg gets like fucking ripped apart and just like
that's a little bit. I can see how that was disappointing too because they basically turned it into a comedic moment with the Flash saving that one family and then Superman coming in and being like, oh man, he saved that whole building, and then that was it. Yeah,
that was the choice they made.
But and
that's all of that area of Russia.
It's a great moral ambiguity, like a moral choice. It's a very interesting moment, but it's just if they just lingered on it more, it didn't feel as tense as it could have been.
That's why I would wish to see like Matthew Vaughn wants to have a go at a Superman movie, and I'm totally down for that. For sure,
just because right, he's in talks for Man of Steel too.
If I mean there's names like George Miller. George Miller might do the next Superman movie, or I hope it's Matthew Vaughn because I think genuinely, like you can't do Superman. Like it's funny, you were like, yeah, he just gets up and comes in and saves the day. I was like, that's exactly what Superman does. He comes in and he saves the day.
You don't bother him unless you really need him.
So also really glad that he had the freeze breath. I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah,
I thought that's cool.
Awesome.
Also dumb at the same time because like his freeze breath has never made sense to me, even in comic.
That's why they're like, we're not gonna explain it to you.
Laser eyes make sense, though, right?
Yeah, I mean, exactly.
I guess so, but the thing is, like,
good point.
I don't know. It's just like a freeze fucking breath. Oh, whatever. Go on. It's just
freeze fucking.
It kind of brings up a good point.
He has dentine ice or whatever.
I love podcasting after the DC ones because you guys read so much and know so much about it.
I know about the Marvel ones too.
No.
Shut it down right there.
Stop. But the source material for DC is so dense, and because I guess there's a comic book guy in charge of the movies, they do a lot of things in the movie that is intentional, but you don't know why or what the context are.
And you just assume that like everybody reads your stuff almost.
And I had no idea.
That's why
I had no fucking idea what was
John
going
said.
on.
Yeah, exactly. And that's why
explain in Wonder Woman. We are introduced to her. She's saving some religious terrorists. Or
I don't know.
something.
That's very generic. Also,
Okay.
that's just like
This is
you don't even know what
throwaway.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
And I told John, I said they could have cut that scene out. They just wanted to show you that Wonder Woman was still in action. Like, oh yeah, let's
Look,
just throw her
she's
in
this
there.
movie.
So,
even with the terrible score, Danny Elfman did not do that score justice at all. Like that orchestrated version.
No pun intended. Yeah,
did not do it justice.
How about Cyborg and his dad? Is his dad like a thing? Or
is that real,
that they do have that tension in the newer books where it's like, hey, you like Frankenstein monster, like you made me. Like, I don't
so
wanna
his
live.
dad is like an actual like comic book character and stuff.
Yeah,
like,
for sure.
Okay. He just loves making Terminator robots.
Miles. Fucking Miles.
Who are your newest Who are your newest favorite characters? Who are your favorite news characters? So there's the Flash, obviously.
Yeah, I think that was
Cyborg.
everybody's. I think general favorite was the Flash around there.
Flash
If it wasn't
Wonder
Superman,
Woman,
it was the Flash. I think.
Yeah.
Aquaman is
I mean,
in this
Cyborg
movie.
was cool. I mean, I like Cyborg.
Hold on.
That's awesome. That's actually the first time like, it's not saying that everybody was like, I hated Cyborg. Everybody's just saying like, I like this character.
But we've never seen Cyborg.
Well, I mean, like,
really.
I didn't hate Cyborg. I thought he was cool.
I thought the actor was really good.
Yeah.
Like the actor was
Ray
actually
Fisher,
arcing his
I mean,
heart
that's
out.
what I'm
He was
saying
really
about
cool.
this movie in general. Is like the characters were all great. Maybe Batman kind of faltered a bit, even though he's my favorite DC.
It sucks because
character.
it's just the 180 where like killing people, nope. And then complete opposite. Then that it was too much the other way.
Cyborg had the most potential going into this movie because you didn't know anything about him. he had this like crazy story where he
Yeah,
was
yeah.
like,
bonkers backstory.
yeah.
where he was
and
dead.
they
Right?
didn't explore it at all.
It
He was
does-
just
yeah.
like used as like
I know.
a extension of the MacGuffin. He's just like, I'm
Yeah.
just gonna sit here and hack this box.
Yeah,
not
and
do
it sucks
anything.
because in the book, I mean, this specific movie is based off of one storyline in the book, and it was basically the reboot that modernized DC again after the Silver Age, a little bit after the Silver
New
Age.
52.
The New 52, exactly. And Cyborg is such a big part because he was made by that technology. He's a lot more of a central character, and it's one that you would never think would be at the center of the plot.
Yeah.
But it's basically everybody trying to protect him so that he could do his thing, type of thing. But that's I don't even know if the Cyborg movie's
Yeah.
still a go now. But
would've-
I think
Well,
this
you
movie.
get hints of that because Wonder Woman helps him realize it's a gift, and
Yeah,
he thinks
yeah.
it's like this awful thing that happened.
And I think that's where this movie, I guess, did its one job, was it left you wanting more of these characters, because that's what everybody's been telling me. Like, man, there should have been more to it. Like, I don't care if that's a longer movie, or I don't
But
care
that's,
if
that's what happens
if it was
with these
just
origins.
done better. Yeah.
In a
origin
rush
Yeah,
stories
have a
origin, yeah.
standalone like
It's tough,
Marvel
yeah.
where you lead it
They
all
should
up.
have had a standalone.
Yeah.
One more standalone before this movie.
At least
Yep.
one more standalone.
Just one
yeah.
more standalone.
I think I don't think any fans would have minded 4 movies before a Justice
Oh,
League movie.
yeah.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Right? Like
for
a
sure.
Yeah.
I mean, you still could maybe you could have kept the Cyborg and Aquaman movies like separate or like afterwards,
Yeah.
because obviously we still haven't gotten a Black Widow or a fucking Hawkeye movie.
yeah.
Yeah.
So like you can keep those two characters
Ancillary,
like
yeah.
from the But I agree with Brian. Brian, I think, told me after the screening, we went to go watch the screening together, and Brian was like, I wish we would have had like a Flash movie before this. And I was like, I definitely would have
Right.
agreed. Like,
And
that
you know
would have been
what
cool.
sucks is that now they're
'Cause
gonna
that-
use their Flash movie as a redo.
Yeah, that's
with the
the dumb
Flashpoint.
part.
They're
Oh
like,
yeah,
well,
people
let's
want to
erase
reset the timeline.
Yeah, and now let's erase everything that everybody said was bad, which is an
Ever.
even bigger course correction than Justice League was.
It's like the
So,
ultimate studio note.
Let's
But
get
the
Ben
thing is,
Affleck.
like the actors that are involved are like, I'm cool with the people who play the characters.
And
You
it's
know,
odd
I'm not
to-
cool with Affleck. I don't care. If
Oh,
he
yeah, I
bitches.
mean, yeah, I can-
If he
Oh,
bails,
I don't
care.
think he cares.
Well,
For,
I
no,
think that'll
'cause-
be the main thing, because I mean, mostly, I mean, everybody was like this role kind of made them, I mean, besides Aquaman, I know he has
Sure,
the
Affleck.
Game of Thrones thing. Yeah, and Affleck was the one that were like, hey, you're gonna be
Gal
the
Gadot was
leader.
killing it too.
Yeah.
Gal Gadot
Well,
was,
Gal Gadot wasn't established, though. She had the Fast and the Furious, but no one was exactly like,
yeah.
let's go watch Fast and the Furious for Gal Gadot. But now she's turned into something else, like an A-lister now, almost, you could say. So
well, I don't know.
B
about A-lister.
B plus.
I would say
That
because like
accent.
she's always
Alright,
going to be
let's-
known as Wonder Woman, and
Yeah,
there's
and that's
nothing
what's
else that.
Guys,
she'll
let's
I know.
not
cast.
letter
The-
grade women, okay?
Yeah.
By the way, this movie's a 10 out of 10 because of that butt. All those butt shots in this
Oh, yeah,
movie.
there-
That was
That
a
was
Snyder
There's some butt
thing.
shots. Yeah.
Am I
So
right?
when she like sweep kicks that guy.
All of the mirror shots
like,
were Joss Whedon.
it was
All
funny.
of the
I
butt
s-
shots
I
for
saw
Zack
that-
Snyder.
like when they're coming down
Plane.
from the plane, it's just
Yeah.
like her
I know-
butt's
and-
like
oh,
right
yeah.
there. And
You
I
know
was
what's
like,
funny? I saw
fuck
this-
yeah, dude.
I saw this with my friend Craig, and she jumped down, and he goes, "Oh, she got ass." And then everybody else jumped down, and he goes, "Oh shit, they all got ass." You can tell it's like Tom Cruise, like butt
It was-
implants on all
yeah,
of
it was
us.
like their butts meeting her
Yeah,
butt.
I was like, "Whoa, shit!" They're
Check out that
Hello,
flash
dude.
ass.
they're getting thicker as they come down.
The thickly.
Yeah. The thickness.
Well, I think all the DC movies could have done with a lot more context. Definitely, that's something that they could have done if they slowed down and maybe made
Yeah, even Wonder Woman.
a
'cause,
couple
like,
more movies.
Poison, Dr. Poison came out of nowhere. Even like that character was
And,
kinda
Yeah,
weird.
and how like Wonder Woman somehow skipped a whole bunch of shit like World War II and
All of it through
Yeah.
now.
yeah, like the Cold War, a lot of conflict
Well,
since World War One.
that's why
Okay?
Did I-
Right?
There's a lot of shit.
Even
that
Bruce,
happened.
Wayne, even
Yeah.
Bruce Wayne called her out in this movie. He's like, I never even heard of you until you fucking. Just,
Yeah,
like,
that
yeah.
one like
Since you
that,
appeared in the
that
last
one
movie.
like fucking like let's
Punch.
just get this loose thread out of the way and say, oh well, you're still broken hearted. That's why you didn't do shit. I was like, fuck
yeah,
off.
He did throw
No.
out her boyfriend's name pretty just like,
Yeah.
"Oh yeah, well Steve Trevor,
Like, gotcha, bitch.
Kind of a low blow,
he's
right?
dead."
I love
And
this.
honestly, it's been how long? 50 years, and she's not.
been-
Yeah.
more
Like,
than that.
get over it.
God.
Well,
Girls,
and-
am I right?
Did I see that? did I?
think we
Sorry,
have
I'm sorry.
We also have a supervillain on the
Um,
podcast.
I'm misogynist, man.
Did,
That's
did
Mr.
you
Steal Your
see-
Girl.
Did I see that correctly? That I saw that Chris Pine was cast for Wonder Woman 2?
Yeah, you did see
I
that.
want Chris
Oh,
Pine
really?
back so bad. He was so charming and
But like, you think it's like flashback, or you think like he jumped out of the plane
hope
before?
not.
it
no
blew up?
Flashpoint. They're gonna reset.
Oh,
it,
nice.
he's gonna be back.
Oh,
and-
no.
Oh,
none
so
of that
Wonder Woman
happened.
2 is after Flashpoint.
Yeah, exactly.
Steve
Yeah.
Trevor's like
Yep.
back on it.
Well, speaking of flashback, I have been watching all the Marvel movies since Iron Man for like a week, and I think I'm almost caught up to now.
Agents of Shield and the
yeah,
Netflix
no,
stuff.
not Agents of Shield. But what I noticed was there aren't a lot of flashbacks in Marvel overall. It's mostly
America.
dialogue, and Black Widow will say, "Well, this is something I went through," and Steve Rogers will be like, "Oh, that's something I went through," and
Yeah.
When there is a
and
flashback,
that's
it's
funny.
bad in
yeah.
Marvel.
Yeah, and they barely use it, and when they do, it sucks. But in Justice League, they're very loose with a lot of these older kind of plot of it. Like they'll flashback in a heartbeat. They'll be like, "Oh, let's check out that scene from before,"
Yeah, that
or
ancient war.
let's reference
Yeah.
this thing
That ancient war
happened.
scene is actually really, really cool.
That was pretty badass.
Really
Yeah,
cool.
that
And
was
Green
really
Lantern
nice.
though.
You see Green Lantern, you see Zeus.
You see Ares. You see
Yeah, a bunch of other
Artemis.
people.
What's the deal here? So hey, what's the deal with?
Yeah.
No, what's going on? So these aren't aliens; these are gods.
Correct.
Wow.
Except
So
for
are there aliens?
Thor is a god alien.
There are.
Yeah,
yeah.
Thor's a god alien,
Oh,
but in,
I was
in
talking
the
about
D-
DC.
No, yeah, in the DC world,
What are you
are
talking
there
about? though?
actual?
Like which gods? Like the people who are fighting
the
Steppenwolf and
Zeus
stuff?
and the
Like
Well,
Zeus
the
is an
whole
actual
sort of
god.
shebang,
you know?
okay.
Like
But
literal
But
god.
he's
Yeah.
not from another planet. He's
Zeus or
yeah,
Steppenwolf?
Zeus and Zeus.
Yeah,
Is
Zeus
Aquaman like a literal god too? Is he? I don't know.
I don't know what.
He's like a like.
It's like
a-
Poseidon.
descendant.
has-
Like
He's
a
considered like a
yeah.
demigod, I think.
Yeah, descended from like Poseidon or something.
So
like
the
that.
gods are from other dimensions, or
No,
are
the
they
gods are
from
from
like,
Earth.
Yeah, it's like the
established, like,
Hercules
their actual,
thing.
like,
You know,
stuff.
you saw the animated one. Same
Yeah.
thing.
Okay.
Yeah.
But there's
Yeah.
also
Who put the
aliens.
gliding
I
gladiator?
officially just don't like DC anymore. I guess.
Yeah.
Just think of it this way,
At
yeah. Like
all.
literally, we were thinking like DC has. We saw like literally DC has their Greek gods. Marvel has the Norse gods.
Right.
Technically.
Norse gods. Okay.
Norse
Yeah.
gods
Like, that's what they
slash
are.
But yeah, you
alien
can think of them like
planet.
like the way you
But they're
think
not
of them in
aliens in this
Marvel.
one. They're
Or
actual
you think
gods.
of Thor as an alien, not
Yeah.
as a god.
When do
whatever,
the
but-
when do
yeah.
the Animaniacs come in?
Yeah, yeah.
Probably in Phase 2
Phase
of
two,
DC.
yeah.
Phase 2 in
Yeah.
DC.
Jeez.
Are they gods?
I
Yeah.
guarantee.
What else?
Well, because they're gonna have more gods. Because like they're making a Shazam movie. Shazam is
He gets Zeus's lightning bolt.
yeah Zeus's lightning
It's
bolt. and all this
Sandberg,
stuff.
right?
Yeah.
The guy who made
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
Andy Samberg?
Zachary Levi.
Yeah, Andy Samberg. It's a lonely
The
Island.
director from
yeah, Dick in a box.
island.
Zach
It's
Levi.
gonna be
Zach
hilarious.
Levi versus The Rock. That's
Yeah,
a pretty
yeah, Zachary
weird
Levi,
matchup.
which is crazy.
And that's why everybody's been spiraling over this Justice League thing, and they were typing something on Reddit to the director of Shazam.
like the DC is like the DC
And
universe
he was-
is over. and,
Yeah,
that
he's like, "Oh
Shazam
man,
director's
the
like,
DC universe is over. They're firing everybody." And the dude who's directing Shazam's like, "Well, no one told me. I guess I'm not showing up to work tomorrow." So
Well, so
they're
what-
still going forward with some of these.
Oh,
movies
there's
in
gotta be
production.
heads rolling.
What did you guys think about Aquaman? Because speaking
For
of
sure.
Yeah, definitely.
Sandberg, James Wan is all in on an
On
Aquaman
Aquaman,
movie.
yeah.
It's too
Yeah,
late
it
to go
was-
back now.
I know there's
Yeah.
a moment when they're like, is he gonna?
And
Yeah,
Wonder
is he
Woman
in?
2
Wonder
coming out?
Woman was
Yeah,
already
Wonder
the
Woman
best
2.
part of this universe, so they're
Yeah.
gonna try. They have to make a second one, if
They're
anything.
gonna-
Well,
they're gonna
Aquaman
ruin
is like a surfer bro
Yeah.
in this
No, I
movie.
don't like
right?
Aquaman at
They're,
all.
they're
Well,
trying real hard to
Bunga.
make Aquaman cool, and I have a question for you, comic book guys.
Okay.
Because all the cartoons I watch, Aquaman's a nerd,
Okay.
right? Was Aquaman ever cool, or is this the first time they're trying to make him cool?
This is
second
so
time.
This is the second
Well, the
time.
video game, right?
No, the first time was in the
Injustice?
'90s. In the '90s, when everyone was like supposed to be cool, when Jim
Yeah.
Lee was drawing shit like Wolverine
They
and
gave him the
Cyclops
hook
and
for the
Cable,
hand.
like these like fucking muscles and stuff in the '90s. Psylocke, even
the
on the
hook
Emmett
that
stuff.
Batman made.
All of this like Marvel stuff, like was like super weird and gritty. Same thing goes for the DC stuff as well. That's when they made Aquaman this long-haired type of
Okay.
person.
They gave him
Before
even,
that,
like, a
he was
fish
like
hook.
orange
Yeah,
with
yeah,
like the
before that,
gloves.
yeah.
It was very,
he
very
could talk to
campy.
fish, and that was it.
Yeah.
I think you're thinking about Mermaid Man.
Yeah,
from
e-
SpongeBob.
and even
honestly.
before this movie, they did another reboot. So they had the New 52, and then they rebooted into what's called Rebirth, and that's basically where they're at now with this Watchmen stuff.
Do you think
and-
Momoa did? Oh, sorry.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
I was like, excuse
I
me,
thought you're done.
you
Sorry.
punk bitch.
Go.
So with this Rebirth, they described as the Aquaman title, which is ironic. They described it as Game of Thrones, but under the
What?
sea, because it's like this. You have the seven
Okay.
seas,
Oh, yeah.
and they're each ruled by a different king.
That's
yeah.
cool.
So
Yeah, kinda
that's one
hard.
of the best titles out there right now, and it's still a couple 40 issues in now.
Huh.
This is
Everybody's
our
like, yeah,
first-
Aquaman's actually pretty cool. Now.
This is like our first look at a real Aquaman
Yeah.
movie.
And it's
Well,
kind of
that's
it's
why-
unfortunate that it kind of
it-
sucks because
It's
it was
so
very
funny because
weird.
you used to You used
I
to
love
say that you
Aquaman.
wanted
He
to
wanted
pitch
to
your
pitch,
old
yeah, back in the
Aquaman,
day.
and I
It's too
thought
late now, guys.
your vision for the first one was actually really badass, where it would be like the Captain Phillips type of like terrorist hijacking, or I guess they call them
Yeah,
pirates,
right.
Oh, yeah,
hijacking a
start
boat,
small stakes
and
style.
then it would be him kind of like trying to save everybody on that boat, and like
It was bonkers.
Yeah. And I was like, damn, that's a really good idea
But
to
this is
do
our
like a
first
small
look
scale one.
at what he does in this movie.
Yeah.
Which is just, I guess, fight.
I'm
Because there's no
underwater.
water around.
Well,
But what did you guys think about how they talk underwater?
That was dumb.
By making a bubble.
Well, James Wan said he's going to eliminate that real quick.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That
because
was
like
so
they
weird to
live
me.
in the water,
Yeah,
so
yeah.
they should just talk.
Exactly.
Okay, apparently
That must be
Willem
annoying.
Dafoe was in this movie at one point.
Yeah, Volko.
And
Yeah,
he was like,
Volko.
apparently there were a lot more underwater scenes. They just cut them all out.
Yeah, they
he's
cut
in
them all
Atlantis.
out.
Well,
Yeah, I
they-
was expecting Amber Heard to be like
Yeah.
Big
a,
character.
a big
yeah.
character.
Well, and
no.
I think she might have been a little bit bigger than she was in this one.
Also,
Amber Heard did
Was-
not have to be in this movie.
was Steppenwolf Johnny Depp, because
Nice.
Steppenwolf beat the shit out of Amber Heard.
Ouch.
Heyo.
Oy.
Our supervillain strikes again. And then Johnny Depp
Grindelwald.
struck again as well.
But yeah, and it's the same thing with like they had cast Iris West, which was that girl from Dope.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And now they're thinking about recasting her all together because they were able to cut her out of this movie. And I was like, holy shit!
Shit.
They're pulling that Amazing Spider-Man 2 or Amazing Spider-Man 2, was it 2 or 3? Where they cut out Mary Jane completely. That girl from what was that movie?
The
that-
Descendants.
Yeah, exactly. That movie. sucked.
Shailene Woodley.
There you go.
Yeah, that girl.
Yeah.
Anyway, but
she was meant to be in.
Yeah,
she was
they
meant to
filmed
be-
a fuck ton of
That's
scenes there.
fucking funny.
and they cut her out.
That's
She had
that's
an entire
bonkers.
subplot that they just cut out.
That's
Nope.
fucking
Yeah.
insane.
That's,
From the-
but
crazy, yeah.
that sucks for some people. But again,
That's showbiz,
Movie-
baby.
yeah, showbiz.
That's
Yeah.
showbiz.
Aquaman though, I'm excited for
Hollywood.
Aquaman though because the movie,
Right.
even though I didn't enjoy douchey Aquaman this time around because it was just really weird hearing him like almost wanting to call everybody dude and just
And
like,
almost being useless
You know,
unless there's
the most
water.
useless thought that I was having when he chugs a whole bottle of whiskey. I'm like, well, if he's so powerful, does he get drunk or?
It's all
Buzz.
fucked up.
It's
He stays
I just
super
don't
hydrated.
understand.
So it's just a waste of time, right? If he's just
Yeah,
drinking
that's
it,
what
he's
I was
just like-
thinking. I was like, is he getting drunk or
He likes
no?
the taste of whiskey. He's a
Yeah.
connoisseur.
It's like
And then
his
he's like the
metabolism
friend
must
of-
be great.
It's probably equal to like
Talks
one
to
shot.
fish.
James Wan said though in the description, and I've seen some leaked concept art of Aquaman online.
Seems pretty
It's
terrifying.
crazy.
Yeah, they
It
go
is
to
a
like the
dog-
deep, like
yeah.
What do you-
scary-
what
they
do
go
you
to like
mean?
to the
They're
deep,
dog
scary
fights, like
parts
Star
of the
Wars.
ocean.
Like like imagine Dunkirk, but like under the water, people are riding sharks, just like throwing out
And,
shit
like-
at
like
each other.
big,
Just
like-
In
Fuck
Aquaman?
Yeah,
big,
the movie.
like
That's the
squid
thing.
like monsters
Sign me
like coming
up.
out
Yeah, sea monsters like coming out
from
the
the
trenches.
depths. Yeah,
They
exactly.
Well,
should
it's
do
like,
this. I want
why
to see that
not?
in 3D.
yeah.
It's gonna be
fucking the
insane.
Kraken.
Like, just
Fucking
Well, what
insane.
else are you supposed to do with an Aquaman?
Davy
movie?
Jones.
Yeah, exactly. Like why don't you go all out? Like
Yeah,
shit like that.
exactly.
Global
We're
warming.
rehashing Pirates of the Caribbean.
But like that's
Well,
insane. Like I saw like literally there's a concept
Yeah.
art where like it shows Ocean Master
Yeah,
who's
yeah.
like on a lead shark like that and he's leading an army of other people like riding fucking sea monsters
Patrick
into
Wilson.
battle. And I'm just thinking like what
Like
the
killer
fuck? I'm
whales.
gonna
Well,
watch that.
This sort of just proves our
Insane.
overall point that the origin movies with one of the
One
main
scene of each.
heroes
Yeah.
Dope, yeah.
are going to be great. They're helmed
bet
by
you meant this
Patty
one.
Jenkins, James Wan, Andy Samberg, like really great
David Sandberg.
David Samberg. Filmmakers who have really distinct visions that can hone in on one thing and one human story. And
Just the team-up
these-
ones that are just
it's-
kinda
it's like
stupid.
the opposite of Marvel, where the team up ones are the ones who are like, oh man.
But you see,
Don't
you
watch
can
those.
still do a team up in a one.
Eventually.
Well, look at Guardians of the Galaxy. You didn't know any of those people.
That's
Those are
true.
team up.
Yeah,
It's just like you gotta just do it. I guess you just gotta do it
You
right.
do it
I
right.
guess.
Yeah.
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 Just gotta do it with some heart. You
James
just gotta
Gunn.
do it with
James
some,
Gunn's a good
love and
director
care.
though.
Well,
But I
that's-
think the only reason why Guardians of the Galaxy were because you didn't know any of these
Yeah.
people. So
Yeah.
maybe that's
Well,
like
and
you
you know
didn't
any
have
of
the
these people
con-
that knows-
context.
That-
yeah.
That's almost the fear I had for Marvel because with DC they embrace this multiverse stuff. So if they wanted to, they're just like, oh, we're just gonna make different movies, but this takes place in a different universe. Like they had the
Yeah.
Red Sun Superman, where
Are they
like
gonna
he
make,
was
like-
born in Russia, and
Are you
you know,
serious?
yeah,
Oh, shit.
things like that. Where
No,
there's a
it's
bunch
like
of
a
Elseworlds-
Soviet instead. Yeah,
it's
that's
it's
pretty
like
cool.
Elseworld titles
Aren't
that
they
they
gonna
can
make
do.
like 3 or 4 Joker movies that are all like unrelated or
Yeah,
something?
yeah.
And that
and-
Batman that's
Yeah.
And
Weird.
it's the same thing with this Flashpoint where he goes back to this world where like Aquaman and Wonder Woman are at war, and he never got
Jesus.
powers because he saved his mom, so he never had
Mm.
the need for him and shit like that, you know.
That's
So
kinda
it's
cool,
it's
yeah.
a lot of different Elseworld titles, and that's why I thought for sure DC can outlast Marvel because of this. But now I hear Ant-Man and the Wasp are going to introduce their multiverse, but I just
a miniature multiverse.
yeah, exactly. But I just think that like for sure they're gonna run out of characters this next movie. But then there's a movie like Guardians where like no one knew who the fuck that was.
Yeah.
And then everybody loves every single
It's
one
like
of them now.
C tier, right?
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
shit
yeah.
like
And
that.
again, even with Thanos, where no one knew who Thanos was in a million years, and they're just gonna keep doing it with these characters. Captain Marvel, everybody's like, who the fuck is Captain Marvel? You know,
but Brie Larson's Captain
But
Marvel.
Brie
yeah.
Larson.
Yeah, exactly.
Talk about 10 out of 10 right there.
Yeah,
what's-
and Jude Law, 10 out of 10 for the women as well. From the data I gathered at work, they're like, hell yeah.
But it's impressive that we're
Damn,
naming all these
he's old.
all these Marvel movies are still very different,
Yeah.
from each other because of the people who are making them. So
Yeah.
hopefully it continues to work.
I hope DC gets their act together though, because DC is ripe. I mean, I'm not biased on either or, but I will say, reading stuff on both ends, DC's source material is better than Marvel's source material. And that's just because like their stories like have like some sort of weird grittiness to it that they haven't actually nailed down on the fucking like live action part, which is like that's the most-
grittiness is not like depression.
Well, that's what you're saying,
It's
like,
not
about
making everyone depressed.
the-
It's
the-
something else.
The
Yeah, exactly.
comic
It's just something-
the comic medium versus
Like
the
what
film
you actually
do,
medium.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, everyone you hear the classical argument about, oh, the book's better than the movie or whatever. Like, it's probably the same thing. Like, the source material might be better in a comic
sense. Right, yeah, but
in a movie translation, it's just
it doesn't work.
the Marvel actually
Well, it works because it's a little bit more,
Well,
more
and
contemporary.
also-
yeah, definitely.
And Marvel's not scared to change something, and
right.
I mean, like there are so many different changes where like Ego was never a fucking Celestial, or he was never Star Lord's dad.
It was
or,
much crazier than that.
yeah,
right?
and they take a lot of liberty with altering their source material, and then it's funny because
I feel like they can do that though
the movies
because they've
change
had
the
that build up
comics.
to it though.
the
Yeah,
movies
they-
change the
they've-
comics now, where
they've
Robert
earned a
Downey
lot of
Jr. is
trust.
Like, yeah, and it sucks because the comics are tanking hard, and but it's just interesting to see that dynamic of how people react to what they do because they're established and what you do, and like you're true to the source material, but you did it in a not so obviously good way.
I'm
or
even
whatever.
not saying like I'm not saying really that. It's just like to me it's just heartbreaking because the source material is like I feel like you can still make something good of that. Like it again, it's all about interpretation. Like how you interpret that stuff from the page to the screen. And I feel like there's potential. Like there's a good movie in there somewhere. You just have to find the right person for the job and
Yeah.
actually do it, and not have like
yeah, of course. Yeah.
don't make it seem like obviously it's a franchise because it's WB's like one of their main points right now.
Well, the problem is just that like the studio is set up in a formulaic manner. It's like
There
we
you go,
got to
yeah.
set everything up.
Gotta make the money, man.
Yeah,
exactly.
while Marvel took it as like, let's just start off with Iron Man, see what happens.
And they have their own studio. Marvel
Yeah.
Studios is Marvel Studios.
Like,
WB doesn't have, or DC doesn't have DC Studios. They answer to WB.
Do you think
Like it's just insane.
do you think it would have went as well? Like, let's say Jon Favreau had done Iron Man, and they were like, "Hey, we want you to do the next one,"
They
and
did
then
ask him to
the
do that.
team
Yeah.
up. I meant like not Iron Man 2. I meant the next Marvel movie, like the way
Would be like
All of the
Avengers
Marvel
yeah,
right
right
yeah,
away.
away.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, like the way they basically did it with Zack Snyder. We're
Right.
like, "Hey, you do this one, and then you do the next one, and
There's
then you
no
do
way
the
it
team
would've
up."
worked.
You know,
Yeah, I mean the only reason
Jon
why
Favreau is obviously a better filmmaker.
There's
for
no
sure.
way it
yeah.
would have worked. I mean,
But-
Iron Man 2 didn't work.
Yeah,
So
you're
like
not wrong.
so,
Iron
like,
Man
it's just-
2 was.
But
not
do
the
you think
best.
that was
Yeah.
more of a studio problem, right?
I mean, they were still new at the time. They were
Well,
just
yeah,
trying to
because
get,
like Justice League, just like Dark Universe, DC just kind of like let's just go off to the fucking races. Let's fucking look. Marvel's making all that goddamn money. We
Yeah,
have all
yeah.
these great IPs. Fuck it, everyone's gonna love it anyway.
Exactly.
Yeah,
You're right.
you
It's
know?
super formulaic, and that's what we end up with the Justice League, a very formulaic
Okay, yeah, type of,
movie.
like, yeah.
The
With-
the IP will sell itself,
Yeah.
which
Yeah.
and clearly
Yeah.
wasn't the
Wasn't-
case.
yeah,
it
it's not
so
the
sucks
case.
because you got hit with Coco on that Tuesday right after that.
Coco.
And you're like, fuck, like
Yeah.
that's a
And
kid's
then
movie.
Thor Ragnarok right before, which
Yeah.
was like
They
the
did
yeah,
time
best
right.
reviewed Marvel movie.
Yeah.
So where do you think DC goes from here? Obviously, they can't just end. Wonder Woman wasn't a bust; it was very successful, and they hired the whole crew back to make another one.
And I feel like they're still going to make a profit on this movie, just not a profit like the way they expected.
Sure.
Yeah,
Yeah.
less
they're
than
still gonna-
Suicide Squad and Batman versus Superman.
They need to stop doing reshoots. Stop spending 3 times the amount
I
on
agree.
a movie that they.
Oh, and CGIing
Yeah.
Mustaches.
mustache.
Yeah,
Yeah,
mustache,
throwing-
without it.
That was fucking
Like
what's
when
his-
there's a
what-
fire and throwing paper money at it, you know.
That
it's
that was
just gonna
fucking
make a
what's his
bigger
face's
fire.
fault.
Mhm.
Who's doing Mission Impossible?
Henry.
No,
Cavill.
who's the company? I heard they had a
Paramount.
contract.
Oh, Paramount.
Yeah,
Yeah, they're
and-
like, "Fuck you, DC."
And it's funny. Yeah, Warner Brothers was like, "We'll CGI the mustache on for Mission Impossible if you let them shave it," and they're like, "No."
You don't even need a CG. Just put a
Yeah, I know.
No, they were
mustache.
paying. They're like, "We're gonna pay for the makeup for the
Yeah.
mustache," and
Yeah.
Paramount's just like,
Paramount-
"Lol, no, we're gonna make your movie look like shit."
Well, Paramount is
So
desperate.
crazy.
Hey,
Oh,
AF.
fuck you, Paramount.
That's
God
true.
damn
Yeah,
it.
Paramount,
yeah.
they're not going to give any Fs. They lost J.J. Abrams to Disney again.
Yeah.
and
They lost
he was
Marvel
all
to
that they had.
Disney. Yeah.
They were all that they
Uh-huh.
had, and Paramount hasn't
Yeah,
made
you're not
money
wrong.
in
They
5 years.
They have a reason to be salty.
Yeah, they're salty.
Salty AF.
Just got to give Michael Bay a little more, baby.
Yeah.
So sad.
So what do you think you see in the future of DC? Because Warner Brothers is not a they'll cancel some shit. They canceled the MonsterVerse after one movie.
Fuck yeah, they
After
did.
they've hired all
Right.
these
I'll tell you
actors
what.
Crazy.
and
I-
set dates already.
Those universe. Oh yeah, they will.
Javier
kinda
Bardem,
cancel.
you're fired. Johnny Depp, you're fired.
Yeah,
I think
so-
there isn't as much writing. Well, in the Dark Universe, there wasn't as much
The sucks that they
reliance, I guess. Like DC, like you still
I think it's
like
still a wild card.
despite like the failures of their movies, you can still like people still show up for DC.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
And that's
You
the
know?
I guess that's the power of the fans for sure.
The
is that,
power
like,
of the fans.
these
yeah.
these guys are gonna like go see it no matter what almost.
Buy the
It's like-
Blu-ray.
It's like the TMNT movies. We're like, by no means is that a good movie.
But they should
people go
they should
to watch them
reassess.
because
They should start making indie DC movies directed by Noah Baumbach.
Wes Anderson.
Animal
Wes
Man.
Anderson.
Animal Man would be fucking
Animal
dope.
Man.
Yeah, Animal Man
Cut
is
their
fucking
budget like
great,
down
dude.
to maybe $5
They'll
mil.
do like an
you know?
Eli Roth version of a movie.
Delphin, are you need the rights to the Swamp Thing movie? Like,
Yeah.
we can just make a Swamp Thing movie.
Well,
like,
so what
literally.
are
Wes
so do you-
Craven, right?
So that's something that Marvel did is they got a lot of smaller directors, some who've never made a big budget.
I think that's what
thing.
DC
That's what they
should
did,
do.
Yeah.
Like DC, I know people
it down a
people for
bit.
some reason like the Arrow and Flash TV shows,
Mhm.
but to me they're just like glorified CW like soap operas.
No, people are so into those.
but they're
shows.
into them.
Oh, boy.
But like
Shit,
the
I'm
Netflix,
guilty of that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
I
was
was
like,
about to
guilty.
say,
Oh,
boy.
the
like that.
Netflix Marvel stuff is like cool. So
Yeah.
like once Disney fucks Netflix and pulls all their shit,
Yeah,
Makes
pull
their own
out
DC
game
should just
strong.
take those
Take that
fucking
vacuum,
take those directors and start pumping out some cool DC stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's sort of,
He struck gold with Drew Goddard on Daredevil season 1, right? Drew Goddard.
Yeah.
and I think it's just the overall tone and the mood, not the mood, but the trend in entertainment or at least movies, filmmaking, is the known successes like Snyder's or Whedon's. They're not what is drumming up the best
Yeah.
movies now. It's like Get Out or these
Well,
movies that came
it's-
out of nowhere.
It's again like it's like a systemic issue because movies take years to make. So like by the time the movie comes out, the culture has already changed,
Right.
and you're like, well, fuck, we were operating on 2 years ago because that's when we started making this movie, and it's like, how do you can't this as soon as you calibrate, then it's like, oh well, pop culture has already moved on to something else.
Yeah,
you know?
and I think that's what the problem with DC is very reactionary to
Trying
the
to-
last
and
2
they're trying to
years.
hurry,
Right.
too. They're
Where
like, fuck.
Marvel is at the point where they're creating. Today was the day that
like
the
we
Infinity
make the
Wars
pop
trailer came out,
culture,
Yeah.
you know,
and
like
that
Marvel.
was the whole day. The Infinity
Yeah.
Wars
Yeah.
trailer,
Yeah.
even it was trending higher than
Incredibles too.
And
Donald
Matt Lauer.
Trump. Oh yeah, all those.
Well, yeah.
things.
See, Marvel is the creator of pop culture, while DC's like, let's catch up with pop culture.
Yeah,
which
it's
is,
almost the opposite
know.
of the way the comics were. Like
Yeah.
DC was there first, Marvel
Right.
can fix it later. But DC's
So it's
not
going to
fixing
take.
it.
I think it's going to take something ridiculously bold, or someone who with a vision that's
Yeah.
new.
It's just
and
going to take a
beyond.
good movie. That's all it's
Yeah.
going to take.
I hope they can.
And again,
Someone
that,
make a
that-
good movie.
that- but
all
that's
it
where
is.
it starts.
Wonder Woman
though.
didn't do
Yeah.
it though.
Yeah.
The genre's getting like flooded too. Where
That's
I'm
why
just
too.
like,
That I think that has a
superhero
lot to do with it.
fatigue,
Like
yeah.
you know,
Well-
it's just like after Infinity War. I think people on both sides will maybe like,
Yeah.
all right,
Every-
let's just slow it down. just a
Superheroed
bit.
out. Well, and that's what
Yeah.
I keep telling people is like that's why Infinity War has me worried. No doubt it's gonna be badass, you know, of all sorts. But how are you gonna top that? How are you gonna keep people wanting to come back after that because this is like this
Turn
mega.
down the scope.
Yeah, well,
that's
and
what it has to. That's the way it has to go.
Oh, and
that's what's cool too. Like make a Moon Knight movie.
well, and
make
like
a fucking,
like
you
this
know,
acquisition of Fox would be great because then you can just be like, oh, Fantastic Four, throw them in there,
And
you know,
X-Men.
and then after that, everybody gets bored. Oh, throw in X-Men.
People just
we
need
have,
to
you know-
stop pretending like these universe movies where there's like a big, backstory and all these different sequels happening. Like those aren't the only movies that are released every year. Like every once in a while you get a Coco and it's like awesome. And it like blows you away and it's like an original story that people will go flood the theaters and go try to see it. And it just sucks that like all these original movies come out and no one goes to see them. And then they release a trailer for a sequel to a sequel to a sequel to a sequel and fucking it blows up the internet for
yeah,
a day.
it's watched more times than the
We
actual
bank on those
fucking movie.
sequels.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Hey, are you saying something bad about sequels?
I like original stuff. No, it's just Hollywood's become I mean, you guys picked a good topic for your podcast.
Yeah.
Because we have nothing but sequels, and
Well,
it's like,
just
Well, I think
reboots, redos, franchises.
yeah.
I think one of the brighter spots from those things, especially if their studio like Marvel, who's finding James Gunn, finding, or someone finding not finding Patty Jenkins, she's already been great. But now that James Gunn is gold, he can turn around and touch things that are independent.
Yeah.
Oh,
That
a
will
new sexual
automatically-
harassment case.
Okay.
Jeez.
So I think that's hopefully a bright side is if they give this ladder to all of these young independent newcomers that
they'll
they turn
use it,
around and help more people up. Yeah, it could be naive. It may not happen. But James Gunn is producing like 4 movies in the next 5 years that are horror.
Well,
and
I mean,
no one will
I-
ever
James Gunn.
I
see
want
without
to.
him.
I want to do a counterpoint in the sense that, like, I see that, like, I get what you're saying, and it does bring, like, unknown filmmakers that are great up. But when I look at, like, Ryan Johnson, who's doing Star Wars, I'm like, that guy made Brick, that guy made Looper and
was
now
great.
he's like. He's probably having a time in his life like making Star Wars movies, but he's kind of like locked in to Star Wars now,
And
now
next 20 years
doing
of his life.
and he's doing a trilogy.
Yeah,
And I'm like,
what's he gonna
I just
create?
want,
of his
I
own,
want,
right?
I want another Looper.
Yeah, you
I want another
Ryan
Brick.
Johnson movie.
Yeah.
You just want a Ryan
Yeah,
Johnson
just
movie.
give me a Ryan Johnson movie.
yeah, you're not wrong.
And it's just like, I mean, like he can do, he can do whatever he wants.
Yeah.
I just wish there was more
You
faith
prefer-
in these
Other
original ideas.
Ideas, yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it is rarer and rarer now.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and I see it especially where I work too. That there are people I see people. Then it's one of these things that's losing steam, where like people are just getting tired, or like, man, I want to read something else other than superheroes or Star Wars. So they get into something
Sex
like,
criminals.
and then the next choice is The Walking Dead. But then how long till you get tired of that? Because that one's mainstreamed out its ass right now.
That's why you gotta stick to
Whoa.
movies.
Yeah.
There's everything under
Yeah.
the sun in movies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Even
Well,
old ones.
Yeah, comics is pretty weird too.
Well,
But
Sex Criminals is
Well, yeah,
pretty good.
yeah, comics is like super versed also, and they make it out of everything. That's why I'm like, what do you like? Game of Thrones, they have one. Resident Evil, they have one. Call of Duty,
That's a good
they have
point.
one.
Yeah, for sure.
They have one, and
Yeah.
it's just because it's been going on for so long. They have some for like it's basically porn that people come in, and I'm like, damn, are you buying porn?
Are
That's
those
what I
the
want.
ones with like the
that's
black
the
Yeah,
industry.
screen
yeah,
on them and
exactly.
stuff?
Cave woman, sex criminals.
Like I just want to buy those because I
Sex
just want to
Criminals
see what
is
the
not
cover
porn.
looks
Fuck
like.
Fairyland. There's one called
Yeah, I
Fuck
remember getting
Fairyland.
Don't
Like
act
not
like you
not
don't
yeah
know
not
what's
for
on
the
there.
naked stuff. I just want to see what the cover looks like.
Sex
Yeah.
Criminals is not porn.
Yeah, oh, I know, but like you'd be surprised. Like Rob's like, take a look at this, and he opens it up, and it's just like this girl, like, damn, I'm so tired, and then she gets this like deep dick in this next one hard.
Holy
And I was
hell.
like, what the fuck? Like it's legitimately porn, not even soft.
Now
porn.
where's
Yeah.
that cinematic universe?
Yeah, yeah.
Sign me
Yeah,
up.
it's called Bang Bus 2.
You know,
Just kidding.
That's the dick from the last movie.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
Wow.
Whoa, but yeah. So they make comics for everything, literally.
So what do you think? So I
Literally,
guess
literally.
we're saying it's super saturated. Things are getting real cray cray. Although
it's getting crazy.
Infinity Wars is going to make like $3 billion.
it's gonna be
probably.
great.
Yep.
I'll watch it probably 18
We should make our
times.
own superhero like universe. Let's just
I-
invent a bunch of superheroes.
I- you
I
know,
don't want
had-
to. I
I
don't
had
want
an
to discuss
idea.
it here over the podcast. But
Yeah, I know.
had
I'll
one
pitch it to you
long
after this.
time.
But I had an idea for like a small, independent type of like picture like Kick-Ass,
Yeah.
but like
you
against
stealing my
small
idea?
scale. No, but it would be Avengers-esque.
Oh, okay.
Because I wanted the team. So I was like, everybody loves the teams right now. Everybody's into Guardians. Everybody's into Avengers, Justice League, all this shit. So, I'll tell you guys after this. I ain't trying to put this
Has
on
to do
tape.
something with
Andrew,
time.
you
I'm trying to
better,
put this on
you
tape.
better write it down and mail it to yourself. Poor
Nice.
man copyright
Oh,
that
I
thing,
mean,
right?
I might have told you
Does
this
that work?
already.
No,
Is
it
that real?
doesn't. It's
It's
not
not
real.
No.
It's not real.
You
Yeah.
can just lick it again.
Yeah.
Like it's
After
not
the
no.
first-
After I tell you guys.
fucking matter. Yeah.
Well, so what did we miss? Did we miss anything you guys want to talk about in Justice League? Anything crazy?
I
before we
liked
go to our final thoughts.
I like Danny Elfman's score. I don't know if we talked about that, but I really like that score.
I don't
bunch of
remember
callbacks
the
to
score at all.
He had
honestly.
1989
I-
callbacks. He had
I heard
Chris
tinges
Reeves.
of other
Yeah,
movies.
let me go ahead and elaborate. I liked everything that y'all are saying. I like the tidbits from the other movies. Those were cool, especially the Batman movie. I love Tim Burton's 1989 Batman. Obviously, like it's not the best Batman movie out there, but it is one of the. My mom, the first movie I ever saw in theaters. My mom said I was 2 years old. She took me to go see Batman Returns. So watching
Get
that
a
in
new
theaters-
mom, dude.
Get a
Get a new mom. Yeah.
I hope your
Oh,
mom's listening
God,
and heard the part
guys.
about deep digging.
No,
she
she's not-
she only
yeah.
speaks Spanish.
Yeah, she only.
The
Thankful for her.
villain of the podcast strikes again.
I
This
know.
time, John.
That
Personal.
I will admit that did throw me off. But anyway, asshole remark aside, it
I'm
was
so sorry, John.
it was actually really cool to hear all that shit in there, and it was pretty cool. Danny Elfman is actually really one of my favorite composers. The rest of the shit, I will agree with Adam. The rest of the shit is very forgettable. Like anything that's non-Batman like in this case, I guess, is very forgettable. But
Was there an
it's pretty
Aquaman
awesome.
theme? Did anyone hear an Aquaman theme?
I don't think
song or
anyone heard
anything?
any
Was
other
there
theme
any
other-
Justice League
yeah.
theme? Because
Yeah,
there was a
Avengers-
Justice
There's a
League theme. Yeah,
Justice
there was a
League
Justice
theme,
League
and it
theme.
sounded very much like Age of Ultron because Danny
Yeah.
Elfman scored Age of Ultron also.
That's the
So
weird thing. Yeah.
It sounded
God.
very
So now we're
similar.
we're
but
cross pollinating
The
there.
Flash had a
Now
theme.
there's a
Wonder Woman
multiverse of
obviously had a
composers.
theme.
Wonder Woman, I remember distinctly.
I remember
Bat-
the Wonder
Batman
Woman
had a
theme, 'cause I
theme.
heard that.
Yeah,
I
Superman.
didn't hear there was a man.
Superman. They had the callback to John Williams'
that
theme.
John
They have a
Williams.
Yeah,
Cyborg?
bum, ba-dum. Yeah.
Oh,
They have a
man.
Cyborg one?
I feel like Daft Punk
Ooh,
should
that
score
better
that
be.
one.
Yeah.
Man,
That'd
no
be dope.
Cyborg one. He's got left out, huh?
Yeah. Oh, and Aquaman. Aquaman got left out also.
Oh.
Just bubbles.
Alfred.
Bubbles.
I'm just kidding.
Alfred.
Yeah, where's
Theme song.
Yeah.
I want the Alfred standalone movie.
Yeah.
Under the sea.
Anything else? What did you guys think of all of the new gadgets that Batman had?
They're stupid. They remind me
Okay,
of
all
Joe
right.
Schumacher's
No, he
stuff.
and then he like just stole the gun from the alien and started shooting people.
Yeah.
Dude, Batman's
Oh,
okay.
can-
I like when he
Can
was
I
getting his ass
mention
whipped.
like how
That
there was a
Nightcrawler.
whole scene when he was just shooting
Oh,
people?
and then it just stops working for no reason.
Yeah.
But okay, his
You're out of
Nightcrawler,
bullets.
he like gets hit. He's like, I need Alfred. I need the Nightcrawler.
Nightcrawler,
And
yeah.
it's like the slowest fucking machine.
Yeah.
Like,
And he built that thing.
why?
He had that
Okay.
ready.
Also, he
Shit was climbing walls.
oh man, he calls him Alfred in front of that guy on the roof at the beginning. Everybody just knows that Superman's Clark
Fuck.
Kent. He just runs up and Lois Lane's
Yeah.
calling him Clark.
There's
Batman's
cops there,
gadgets-
right? They're watching
Yeah.
him like and shit. Like it's just
But
like
his gadgets are dumb. To answer your question, his gadgets are dumb.
yeah. I will agree with that too.
And
Yeah,
that's
it's
like
all-
one of the greatest
well,
parts about Batman
yeah.
is
But
cool ass
it is
gadgets.
gadgets.
Well, but
yeah,
Batman's
exactly.
gadgets have always been done since '66, where it's like the Bat Shark repellent
No,
spray.
I'll get that.
He's supposed to have something for everything,
They're
and
not
you're just like,
supposed-
man, that's a little bit weird sometimes.
They're not supposed to be dumb, but they get dumb.
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
after
exactly.
after prolonging exposure. So I get
Yeah.
that. Yeah. So
Well, I
I'll
mean,
agree
who
with that.
There's a difference between like I don't know, like cheesy.
Like Adam West and like
Yeah.
Breaking Bad style Walter White who makes something.
The
that,
thing is,
does
like Batman's
something.
supposed to like have gadgets.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
He's
get
supposed to like.
But
that's
even
the
but
thing.
even
Like
by the
shark
Dark Knight,
repellent.
his gadgets in this
Shark
movie are just kind of
repellent.
like, well, all right, he's just like flying around in
A
his
new car.
well, yeah,
Yeah,
that's
little
the exact
car.
same thing I felt like in The Dark Knight Rises. Like I
Yeah.
thought his gadgets were cool for the first two movies, but after prolonged exposure, like they're a little weird. So like even in The Dark Knight Rises, I was like, yeah, EMP gun. No, yeah,
Oh,
that's
yeah.
the next logical step. And
Yeah,
then
he's
like,
wait,
a
what
bat.
the fuck? Yeah.
Yeah, exactly, like a flying thing. All right, cool. Yeah, we hadn't seen.
All right, now
Alright,
it's getting
cool.
ridiculous. But
Do you
I
guys think
again,
Wonder
that's
Woman's
part of
gonna have an invisible jet?
I'm waiting for that. Yeah.
it.
I hope
It's
not,
weird
but
because in
that's
some
like I'm
iterations
pretty sure
she-
that's gonna happen,
Oh.
which is dumb.
Invisible suit.
It doesn't make any
that's
sense.
in
what
some
I'm looking
iterations
for.
she flies.
Wait,
Which
which
is
Invisible
one?
jet
weird. In
makes
some
no sense.
iterations she flies, so she doesn't need the jet. She can just fly by
She
herself.
jumps high in Wonder Woman.
Yeah, yeah.
Wait,
so
tell
I
me-
don't know.
Wait,
I
tell
have no
me
clue.
why she even has an invisible jet and where that even came from.
But you can see her.
I know you can just see her. That's weird. Why?
Yeah, I have no clue actually to that.
'Cause people won't notice
That's
when-
Really?
I never
stumped
looked-
you.
Well, it's
No-
because like she doesn't use it today. Like in her, it'll
Yeah.
make an
It's
appearance.
a
like,
classic.
oh,
It's a
cool,
classic
like,
thing.
Oh,
like, it's
that's
like,
a nod. Like,
But
Oh,
there
you
has
bumped
to be
into
like
it.
a reason why someone just thought.
people
oh,
don't freak
well,
out
It's
with a
probably because
girl
she
or
couldn't fly
woman
back.
sitting
Again, there are some
in the
iterations
air.
that do fly, but
Yeah.
some that don't. So they just let's give her a Batmobile, type of
An
thing.
invisible jet.
Because Superman has a car as well.
He has a supermobile.
The Supermobile that has every power that he does.
Yeah,
so like
exactly.
the beams will shoot the.
He also
heat
has
But
vision.
why invisible
Yeah.
jet?
Yeah,
I don't know.
yeah.
That's what I'm saying. Like back when these characters were created, it was all gimmicky. Like back in the day, you're just
Yeah.
trying to think of something to one up the
Yeah.
last
Okay.
person.
Yeah.
Okay.
So like that's what,
Everybody's just gonna
like,
want to see the woman. So
if Green
let's
Arrow
make
has
it
an actual
invisible.
Green Arrow
I
mobile,
gotcha.
like and shit, like that's where it probably came from. Is that era of like let's make it visually exciting and no one else has. What about a jet that's invisible?
Plus, we
Like,
want to
just-
sell some mobiles.
Yeah,
so,
exactly.
like-
So it's just like,
They even made, they made
or
a
I
jump
guess some
toys.
invisible mobiles.
Oh,
in this case, yeah.
Here's an invisible.
Oh, this cartoon
Yeah.
reminded me of the
It's
Martian
$20.
guy. What's his name?
Martian Manhunter.
Yeah. Where was he?
John Jones. Yeah, that would.
Oh, I think
wish
he would be the most badass.
that could be
He
an
could've
awesome
been-
detective
yeah.
story.
Doesn't his whole entire family die? Or
Yes,
the
they
race?
get killed on Mars.
And he can control anyone. Oh man, there's so many cool things that can happen in Justice
He
League.
does a bunch of cool shit. Martian
Yeah,
Manhunter.
he's
At
like
some
shapeshifter
point-
right there. Yeah.
At some point,
Shapeshifter.
Justice League gets so big
Yeah,
that they have a space station and they're
the satellite.
The
Yeah.
Watchtower.
they meet
Yep.
and they designate missions to people because there's just so many of
Yeah,
them.
they have
Yeah.
branches.
Yeah,
Justice
So
League
many.
International,
Superman
Justice League
can take
America,
off with-
yeah, Justice League of America, Justice League International.
for a week, but
See, that's pretty cool. But
Yeah, that's a lot of
it's,
heroes
it's,
too.
it's a little too late now.
Yeah,
a little too late to sorry. So we'll see, but I feel like it's going to be a long time before we see anything with a team
Team up, yeah,
Yeah,
for a while.
for sure.
for a while.
And I'm cool with that because, like,
We don't need
it didn't really, yeah, exactly. It didn't really
We don't
happen as
need it.
well as
We
it,
alright.
as we wanted to. I'm satisfied. I'm even satisfied if DC stops. I hope they don't. But
Jesus, John.
they stopped production on their stuff afterwards because it's like we got a Justice League movie already. So like that's pretty. I mean,
Yeah.
in itself,
Time to
just saying that out
reset.
loud, it's
Yeah.
pretty cool. That we
No,
got
I
that.
want to have that Flash movie. That guy needs his own movie.
Yeah,
That
yeah,
guy,
yeah,
that guy's
yeah,
a
straight up
superstar.
I wouldn't mind a smaller Cyborg movie that doesn't
Yeah.
cost $400 million, maybe.
Yeah.
And with a better suit.
Yeah.
please.
Mhm.
Not-
Maybe-
I
a
thought Batman was
prequel.
gonna deck them all out at the end. Like, hey, here you go, here's new shit, but it didn't happen. So
They were in their
It's like,
costumes
fuck.
this whole movie. They were just like, fuck it, we'll just stay in these costumes.
Yeah.
Hey
great.
man, leather pants. I don't forget
Yeah.
that shit.
yeah,
Gal Gadot
It
and leather
worked.
pants.
That was like what, 42 minutes, 32 seconds into the movie?
yeah.
I don't know. So, what are your final thoughts on the movie? John? You speak for everyone, so I'm just kidding.
Yeah,
No.
yeah, just you. Go for it.
Shit.
We can all say them at the exact
I thought it was
same time.
pretty. Yeah, it was a pretty fun movie. Obviously, not perfect at all. Like from all the stuff that we just talked about right now, it's like it has a lot of flaws. It's probably not. Yeah, it's probably even at the bottom of the list when it comes to superhero movies this year. But it's not as bad. It's not as a huge train wreck as like Suicide Squad. It's not like unbearable like that. It is a little cheesy. I liken it. Brian brought up the CW shows earlier. I actually like the CW shows.
Yeah.
I'm not ashamed of that. I liken it to basically an episode of a CW show.
Right.
That's what to me
That's a
it's
great
the
way of
it's the
putting it.
movie version of a CW episode of a CW DC episode. Or if
Third
you
season, mid.
exactly,
season.
yeah, something like that. Or if you want to compare it to something else, to me it's like an X-Men movie, or one of the crappier X-Men movies where it's kind of like, you're not disappointed. Or I mean, I guess you are disappointed somewhat, but you're not.
somewhat,
Yeah, exactly. But you're not like you're not fretting about it. Like you didn't hate it.
We're
So,
not
like, it's
completely
kind of-
disappointed.
So like I hope it goes on, and I hope they get better. But like it was meh, and I think it was I mean I had fun. There you go. At the end of the day, so
Andrew?
Yeah, I'm gonna go with basically what John said. I guess we're just gonna beat this dead horse all the way down. But anyway,
Beat it!
yeah. I think it left you wanting more of the characters, which is cool because people will want the spin-offs more. People want to see Barry interact with his dad in prison, or
First Flash.
yeah.
That's fun.
I
Yeah,
thought he
yeah.
was like his gay lover at first, not
Yeah.
his dad.
That was a really cool
Sorry.
part. Yeah. Oh, nice. Yeah. Yeah, it's his dad. He was framed by the Reverse Flash, so that automatically implies that the Reverse Flash is alive. So
Is Reverse Flash like slow? Is that
no,
time
no,
traveling
that's
villain.
the Bizarro Flash, the slowest man
Wait,
alive.
what?
That's
Yeah.
great.
Yeah, there's a Bizarro Superman, Bat Zorro, where it's like a Batman that has no eyes.
DC's lore is pretty
What?
weird.
Yeah, I
That's
told
so
you. and
funny.
That's what I'm
That's
saying. Is
great.
that like some of DC's
Yeah.
lore is way out there. Like if you wanted to make Bizarro the next villain in the Superman movie, you'd be like,
That'd be
man,
hilarious.
this
That'd
is a
be great,
huge
actually.
challenge. Like how the fuck do we do this?
Is it better than Marvel Apes?
Yes.
Oh.
Not better. Yeah.
Or Marvel Zombies.
Marvel Zombies
Marvel
is actually really good, written by Robert Kirkman, who did
I
The
think
Walking Dead.
I have a Marvel Apes versus Marvel Zombies or something.
No, you might be thinking of
yeah,
Army
that's the-
Darkness versus Marvel
No, it was
Zombies.
Marvel Apes versus Marvel.
That's
Zombies.
unfortunate because
Capcom
Marvel Zombies 3
versus-
sucks.
That's the movie I want to see.
Yeah.
Yeah, Matt Reeves to do the
Matt
Ape
Reeves.
side, and get
Matt Reeves doing the Batman.
whoever does The Walking Dead to do the.
Oh shit.
Zack Snyder, yeah.
Yeah, let's get. You know what? Just get Zack Snyder.
Yeah.
He's
Zack
bad
Snyder did Dawn
now,
of the Dead. But I think it's crazy to even the after credit scene. They're just like, we're just gonna hope that you know who these
Yeah.
people are with Lex Luthor and Deathstroke. Someone was leaving the theater going, man, I think that was Deadpool.
Yeah.
And I was like, you motherfucker! Like Deathstroke was first, and Deadpool was based off of Deathstroke.
Yeah.
So that's the common misconception or whatever. But
Was that person Brian? Just
yeah,
kidding.
yeah.
Hey, I have Deathstroke, Deadpool, and there's another one out there that throws me off too.
Walking Dead.
Yeah, Walking
Okay, no.
Deathstroke. But it's
Whoever Will
was
Smith
fun.
is, Deadshot.
Deadshot.
Deadshot,
Yeah,
that's it.
exactly. No, you're right.
Whoever Will Smith is, the
Yeah.
Fresh Prince of Bel Air.
Yeah.
God,
Fresh Prince of Gotham.
Yeah, Pursuit of Happiness.
I was really confused during
Well, we
Suicide
some
Squad.
kind of
Adam, what,
No, yeah, you're good. Yeah,
Oh,
no,
you're
I'm done. Yeah,
what are your thoughts
I'm a
before your
big Superman
impression?
fan? Awesome.
The impression you were about to do.
Well, like I said, this movie is fine, but you only have one chance at a first impression, and
They blew it.
They blew it, and I just don't. I think the repercussions are just way too large. Like people are just gonna have to like somehow forget about this movie that it happened.
You know, the man for the job, Dr. Bill.
Nah, he's the science guy.
Oh, yeah, that guy.
Huxtable? Wait. Huxtable. Shit.
But yeah, it is. It's really sad because I did enjoy the cast. Sans Batman, all the actors were great. Sans Batman.
You like J.K. Simmons? J.K. Simmons and Amy Adams and Diane
Yeah.
Lane.
What a
I-
great
I like-
supporting cast,
I mean,
right?
I like J.K. Simmons is always great, and Amy Adams is she's fantastic.
Nice.
But she was thirsty.
Nice.
God damn
God,
it.
that's
She-
stupid. Yeah. No, she was actually underutilized in this movie, but it is kind of sad to just see all that potential just kind of thrown away to a marginal film because it's a passing movie, but you just know that if it's like seeing it's like if you're a teacher and you just see like your kid they're so smart and they just don't
They
don't try it.
Yeah.
They don't try hard
Yeah.
enough. And you're just like, man, you could do so many great things with what the gifts you have. And it's just because I'm a Zack Snyder I like Zack Snyder, and I'm kind of leaning to feeling betrayed by him because I feel like he's got the James Cameronitis sort of thing where their career started off really amazing. It's I don't care what anyone says. I like 300. I like Watchmen.
Dawn of the Dead.
Hell yeah.
And Dawn Dead, yeah.
Sucker
I still
Punch?
haven't seen Sucker Punch, and I heard bad things about
I think
it.
you'd like, if we're judging it based off of this
Yeah,
podcast,
I was like, I'll probably still like it.
I think you'll like that movie.
What are you guys, gay? It's okay for gay, but I like women. Sorry, this is such a PC fucking podcast here. I can't like women, but no, I just think that it's like the whole Ryan Johnson thing again. It's Zack Snyder's got locked into this DC, and he probably chose to do it, And I'm also afraid. I mean, I'm going tangential, but I'm also afraid about David Ayer.
Yeah, David.
Who did the horrible
Suicide
Squad movie.
Surprising.
But he did great movies like End of Watch and Fury, those, and he helped write Training Day.
Yeah.
And those are great movies, and then you see him now, he's like, yeah, DC fucking rocks, and Marvel sucks and shit. And it's
You're kind of wondering, wait, what the fuck?
He's just drunk partying with whoever
yeah,
Michael Bay is.
exactly. It's just, it's they're getting locked into these IPs, and I don't know, but I guess I'll just wrap it up in saying that this is, if you like DC movies, this one is one of the better ones, but that's not saying much. It's fine. I don't know. I didn't pay to watch this movie because I didn't want to give my money for this movie because I didn't want to support it, because I didn't like the direction that I was going. But no, that's just my hot take. So.
Hot take. All right. I didn't pay for mine either because I have Movie Pass. It's great.
Oh, ad for Movie Pass.
Please, everyone. I don't want it to go away. I want to keep having it.
People sign up for this service.
Yeah.
Okay. Before I get into it, I want to thank you guys. Thanks. This is fun.
It's not over yet.
It's not? Okay,
No.
great.
We have 2 more hours.
We have like another
We
couple
still have
hours.
to find the mother boxes.
All right.
I still don't know what the fuck those are.
This movie, god damn it, turn your brain off, have a couple drinks at the draft house, whatever, and just have a good time.
Plug for the draft house, dude.
Another plug. Wow.
I'm basically a corporate
plug
tool.
master.
He's a corporate stooge. If he's wearing one of those NASCAR jackets, it's just got patches all over it.
From Mystery Men, right? Like that guy.
Oh, yeah.
This movie, it sucked, but it didn't suck. It was good, but it wasn't good enough. It's like, just go have a good time. Just like, I want them to. I want to keep trying, DC. Like you're getting closer. You're getting warmer.
Yeah, exactly.
Like don't quit. Don't give up. Give me a good movie before
Give him a
you
good
stop.
old pep talk, baby.
Like that's what I want. I want everyone to just go see it so that I can see more of these movies. But like, just keep trying. They're getting better. They're getting warmer. Like Suicide Squad, I think it might have been a good movie until the trailer came out for Suicide Squad.
Yeah, and
then
they
they were
recut
like-
it. Yeah,
They're like, let the trailer company cut this movie. It was a bad idea. It ruined it.
And
But-
Deadpool came out around the same time,
Yeah.
so that affected that movie affected so many
a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
rated R
Fuck.
movies.
Yeah.
I hate Deadpool.
And it looks like Deadpool 2 might
Fuck.
suck too.
I hate him as a
You know,
character.
Just watching that fucking Deadpool 2 trailer was just really
God
cringy.
damn.
each
Yeah,
time.
I
it was
know.
actually
He was
pretty
painting?
cringy.
I
Yeah,
liked
it
the way he was
was.
painting.
It was
Yeah,
cool
that's the
until
one.
it wasn't. Like it's just like I don't know.
No.
Like it was really funny that first time, and then I watched it again, and I was just like, it's not.
Yeah.
you're trying a little too hard.
Oh my God.
DP.
Yeah. but,
Anyways,
Double penetration.
Go on. I'm
movie,
sorry.
I'll give it a solid like 6. 6 out of
Ooh.
10.
No one else rated it. You guys suck.
Oh,
5.5,
5.5. Sorry.
okay, all
Yeah,
right.
I have
Everyone have one?
7.
Whoa.
Oh shit.
I'm gonna go for the same thing. Probably like 6.5.
Okay.
All right. Yeah, that's what I think. That's what I
Yeah.
think. Thank you. Thanks for listening.
I give it a 100 out of 1,000.
So you reduce fractions.
Yeah, we're all.
1 out of 10.
You didn't have to do the same
That's
number.
that you did 1 out of 10.
Sliding
Yeah.
scale. Yeah, I think this movie was. So I just actually got tagged in an article that came out 30 minutes ago, where a lot of people inside Warner Brothers don't like it either.
Yeah. That was the exact article. We didn't bring it up during the podcast,
Yeah.
but that basically tells them what was wrong with the movie.
Yeah, they call it a Frankenstein of a movie, which
Yeah.
it really is. It's a Frankenstein
sure.
movie.
Absolutely.
The CEO and the big controversy right now, which I think
Is
pretty
based-
much
yeah.
fits perfectly in what everything we're talking about. The CEO and the president would have missed out on an
On a
$85
bonus check.
million bonus if they,
if they had
pushed
delayed
the movie
it,
back.
yeah, they delayed it back.
And so they said, you know what? Let's rush
They
it
did the
through.
same thing.
Like that yacht ain't gonna pay
Bastard.
for itself, So.
Fuck.
So the movie could have been better. Joss Whedon could have had more time. They could have fixed probably all the things that we were talking about. But these guys would have missed out on a big old
On a
fat
big fat
paycheck.
check.
I mean, I would have done the same thing,
Yeah,
honestly.
probably.
Yeah, and they're like, fuck this movie.
Yeah,
Fuck this
100%,
movie.
yeah.
I'm
I don't
buying
even
a
like
boat.
fucking superheroes.
But yeah, I
Yeah,
think-
dog, I would have been like, dude, I don't give a shit about
what the
fucking.
fuck is Justice League?
I just work here, motherfucker. Like,
Yeah,
what the hell?
I'm about to get fired. Everyone's gonna start calling me a
Yeah,
rapist.
exactly.
Give me that paycheck.
Yeah.
'Cause they said in the article they might get fired because of the
Yeah.
merger. Yeah, and so they're just like they probably
Yeah,
won't get
on
that
the way
money
out.
afterwards. Yeah, exactly. So
But so
I mean, I get
this,
it.
This movie leaves DC in such disarray. It's a movie that lacks a lot of context, which sucks for us that don't know that much about comic books. Because we're just left confused because we've been trained by all these Marvel movies to look at the hints in the beginning of the movie because there's going to be a payoff at the end.
Right.
And so in this movie, when you see Themyscira or Atlantis, or I think that's Atlantis, right? Or these little 3 squares on the wall, or when they talk about Lex Luthor, you're thinking like, man, I need to remember that. Something's going to happen. And then when nothing happens, you're like, oh, well, shit.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
What was I supposed to pay attention to? I don't know. So I think there's a lot of missing pieces, but it still could be pretty okay. I think what's great for Warner Brothers is they've got a lot of people locked in. Patty Jenkins, James Wan, who also does all of Insidious and Conjuring for Warner Brothers, is a trusted person over there. So there's still a lot of hope for other movies.
Still hope, which is all.
Well,
of DC's
Christopher
about.
Nolan
Yeah.
is trusted at Warner Brothers.
It's true. He's too busy making Dunkirk and trying to make film a thing.
The whole thing, DC is the Superman S, right? Hope will come
Yeah,
and go.
exactly.
Yeah.
Hopefully, shit gets better. There you
Yeah.
go.
Hopefully shits get better. Shits get better.
Shits get better.
Hey, my shits got better because of our sponsor, Squatty Potty. My shits have never gotten this better.
well, you gotta give
I think
you gotta
John
give
told me
DC
that you had
the
one.
same thing.
Yeah.
Give DC that same thing.
We need to give DC a Squatty Potty, and then maybe they'll
Maybe they'll shit get better.
They'll ship better.
they'll shit better. Anyways, let's go to plugs. You guys have anything to plug?
Plug,
Yeah.
plug, plug.
Plug it. The opposite of a Squatty Potty, because that doesn't plug.
Okay.
It flows, baby.
Drew, you plug to not use.
Drew, you want to go first? I guess. Your
Me
store?
specifically? Oh yeah.
Plug your store.
Yeah,
Hope you guys
yeah.
are ready for
yeah,
$1
come on
million.
by to Heroes and Fantasies. We have a sweet 30th anniversary sale. When is this episode ending? Or airing?
Airing.
It's ending now, but
It's
airing
ending and then
probably
airing
tomorrow.
Okay, cool. Well,
Can
we'll
I-
still have our sale.
Can I
going.
open up a store next to it called Villains and Realities?
Yeah. I know.
Yeah.
We always get knocked for sounding like a porn shop.
Yeah, and according
That's why I
to
call it
Andrew,
H&F.
according to Andrew, the fantasies portion is
Yeah.
still there.
Yeah.
So you get straight up.
Come
dick
by.
porn.
You'll see
Yeah.
some heroes, and I will fulfill all your fantasies.
Yeah.
But
What's
anyway,
the promo code they have to use to get
yeah,
80% off?
KY
Give 'em-
Astroglide. I just kidding. But anyway, yeah, come by the store. We have a sweet sale going on, and I mean, if you like these movies, you probably like the books because
Even better.
Yeah,
Yeah, if
exactly.
you made it to the
They have
end of this
some pretty
podcast,
dope ass storylines and shit. So,
there's stuff that Andrew can sell you.
oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, man, it's just a cool place to just kind of wander,
Yeah.
pop,
wander
pop
around.
culture, you know,
Wander in there
and
you
whatnot.
know. After you've dabbed hard, go to the Heroes and
Yeah.
Fantasies and aimlessly walk around.
What does dab mean?
Like
Like
drugs.
the dance more? The
Yeah,
dance
when you
more?
dance hard.
more?
Yeah.
Definitely not
Nice.
something way cooler. What do you guys have to plug?
If you like Heroes and Fantasies, search for our documentary.
documentary,
we made
the
about it.
Heroes and Fantasies.
yeah.
that's
We
right.
made like a 30-year. It was like your 30-year anniversary for the
Yeah.
store.
I'm
So we
actually
made
gonna
like
share
a-
it this week because it's
Sure.
our 30th anniversary. So
It was really fun to make. It
yeah,
was,
yeah.
if you have some time, just sit down, click on the YouTube video, go to Sticker Fridge. Like that's what we like call ourselves, Sticker Fridge. So go to Sticker Fridge and watch the Heroes and Fantasies documentary.
Give us both a like.
Give
We're
us
both on
both a
Facebook.
like.
Boom.
And
like,
comment,
subscribe,
and
comment.
subscribe.
Yeah.
Well, like keep up with. We have some podcasts. We have the Fam Films podcast.
Great
Oh,
podcast.
yeah.
Director Showdown. Adam will tell you about it.
Awesome
Mhm.
podcast.
But then, like around Christmas, like if you like our page now, you'll be one of the first people to see Time Slice, which is something we've been like teasing for 2 years.
Yeah.
So if you want to see a short film about time traveling pizza delivery boys
Mhm.
that fight ninjas, go to Sticker Fridge on Facebook. It's
Better than Justice League?
I'd say so.
See,
Yeah,
we
I'm gonna go ahead and
so
say that,
so we decided, you know what? Fuck that $85 million bonus.
yeah.
We're gonna spend our long.
Let's push it back.
We're gonna push Time Slice way back.
You guys missed the fuck out, guys. You missed out.
Nah, integrity to the film.
That's what it is.
Adam, are you gonna plug the same stuff?
Yeah, copy
Yeah,
paste.
copy paste at Sticker Fridge on everything.
Yeah, essentially just check out Sticker Fridge and all the shenanigans we're up to. We have some plans for the new year, so that's exciting. With Director Showdown, we finally finished up season 2. Officially, there will be no more episodes for season 2, but we will be coming back for
Some bonus
season
season 3.
3.
A sequel.
Yeah.
Dude, one other thing
yeah.
people should check out is Cloth. Cloth
yeah.
killed it, you guys.
Cloth, the horror
Yeah.
film.
Yeah.
It's the number one horror film
God
minus
damn
Get
it.
Out of the year.
Like,
Mine is
congratulations,
Get
you
Out.
guys. Cloth,
You
was
guys have
amazing.
so many olive branch thingies. Those award
Oh, yeah.
thingies.
Yeah.
Well, our producer Harvey Weinstein said, "Don't take no for an answer," and we didn't. We sure didn't.
Jesus Christ.
John, anything you want to talk about that happened maybe 40 years ago?
I just want to plug everything that everyone just plugged right now. Go to Sticker Fridge and watch all their stuff. You know, their Instagram, their YouTube page, all their podcasts are great. You know, I'm a guest on some of their podcasts. It's pretty cool. It's awesome. All the Delphin Pod podcasts as well. You know, Revenge of the Sequel, Sitting Room,
Cloth.
Cloth. Yeah,
Cloth,
you're right.
yeah.
It's another Delphin related thing. Not
Yeah.
Delphin Pod related. Is that Delphin Unlimited or Delphin Pod?
I mean, if we take the video off, I guess it's a podcast.
Okay, cool. Well, I guess yeah. Go ahead and visit that and check us out. It's really good to be back here. It's really, I mean, we haven't done this in a while, so this is really
We're in
awesome. to
your
just
home,
kind of-
John.
yeah.
We can still do Thor Ragnarok, right?
We're
Bust
going
it
to
in.
do Thor. We should probably announce that. What do you
Yeah.
What do you have planned for something Marvel related here?
So definitely listen to the Elfenbot shows, the Sitting Room, Revenge sequel, the Christmas special.
oh, it's
will
Star
be
Wars?
new Christmas special.
Yeah, there will be a Christmas special crossover between the new two podcasts, and it's going to be
So a new ROTS and
Themed.
sitting room one.
oh shit, what was that movie? It's themed a movie.
Die Hard.
Yes, Die Hard.
Oh my god.
It's a Die Hard themed Christmas
Did I really
special.
guess that for real?
I love
Yeah.
Die
Wow, that's
Good
awesome.
job,
I
man.
guess legitimately.
He legitimately
That's
guessed.
fucking cool.
Yeah, because
I
you don't
think he
check your
guessed
fucking
and just
emails, Andrew.
decided.
Oh, you
here at the
even?
moment.
No.
Oh,
It's the best
Um,
Christmas movie.
I agree.
But also, we in January are starting a new podcast about the Marvel Cinematic Universe. You guys are totally going to be on.
I
but
think
every
everyone's gonna
week
be on at one point. Yeah.
we'll start with Iron Man, and we won't skip the Incredible Hulk because that's technically a part of it.
Bro, I like the Incredible Hulk.
Well, so how many? I mean, I don't want to put you on the spot, but
Yeah.
how many Marvel movies are out there now?
Jesus,
Like
Yeah.
20?
You'd have to
17?
spread. You
There's the
17 or
exact
18
amount of Marvel. We have the day when the first one will come out. The exact amount where the last episode will be.
But like, so you're
Infinity
just
War.
doing the movies.
Yeah,
So
this
you're
is
not
like-
doing, you're not doing Netflix. You're not doing HC.
Just
You're not
the
doing
movies.
Runaways.
This is just the movie.
Because I received that group text and I like put in the calculator and like it's 22 weeks till like Avengers. So
And there's 20 movies.
Yeah, but like, are you
Okay.
gonna have? Are we gonna have 2 episodes like per movie, or it's just gonna be 22 episodes and then you're done?
And then we're
Yeah,
done.
limited run.
Limited run, baby.
Huh.
That's including Black Panther, right? Like that's coming out
Yes.
too. Okay.
Yeah. We've got some cool surprises.
yeah.
Some people
Excited.
from the movies.
Oh wow.
from Marvel
What?
Cinematic Universe.
Kevin
No,
Fige.
don't
Kevin
get too
Spacey?
excited.
What?
It's not
Nice.
Robert Downey Jr. or anything. But yeah,
Tom
it's going to be
Holland.
really cool. But yeah,
We got
Other
grip.
than that,
We got like
not
you know.
much. John's writing
Victim
a
number
feature
4.
film for Claude.
We're writing a feature film for Claude. Both of
Don't
us.
know how
It's pretty
good
cool.
it is yet.
Yeah. Shit. No, you just announced it. Now I have to
John,
actually
pitch
work
it
it.
to
have
the
to do
world
it,
right
yeah.
now.
It's just like that Joss Whedon director.
In a
of Wonder
world
Woman.
where cloth.
We're making a multiverse. You guys don't get it, but
Yeah.
Del-
Cloth
Delphinverse.
Yeah,
there's
exactly.
these 3 boxes. All right, guys. Well, like and subscribe, and we'll
Comment
see you
also.
guys.
Thanks to
Soon.
Adam and
Oh, yeah, thanks,
Brian
guys.
for being on here,
Yeah.
guys. Y'all are awesome.
Good app.
Yeah, dude.
Y'all are
Every
great.
time I come on this
Yeah, it's-
podcast, I have so much fun. Even though I was fucking named as an antagonist here, but what the fuck ever, I don't care.
No one remembers the good guy in the whole Hitler
We
thing.
love you, Stephen Wolf.
Jesus Christ.
now I'm the movie Hitler.
Yeah, I know. Oh my God.
You know that would probably gain some traction, like online. Like, who's this?
Eisenhower,
Who's this
Churchill?
movie?
Yeah.
It's like we remember those guys.
Soup Nazi still does things. He still does appear.
No, I should just
Yeah, he
change
does.
like my reviews to just put my username as like Hitler Hitler like critic, and
Hitler
people are like,
clit?
"What the fuck? Who is this
You say
guy?"
Hitler clit.
Yeah, Hitler clit.
Yeah.
Clit.
I imagine the smallest mustache
Tiny
on,
little mustache on it. Yeah.
on the biggest clit.
But yeah, thanks guys for coming on. Brian, it's you know, we've had you on before, but he hasn't you know, not
Been
for a while.
Yeah.
Who knows?
So,
No
like-
promises that this will air either.
Right?
Just kidding. No.
Exactly.
But yeah, you guys just come back very soon. It's always
Yeah.
a pleasure. It's awesome, man. Thanks for
Pick,
coming
yeah,
on.
just
Thanks for
pick a
having us,
movie.
guys.
We'll do another one.
Pretty
dude.
soon.
Yeah.
Y'all should be on
Christmas.
y'all Delphin. I don't think you've been
Yeah,
on
I need
fan
you guys
films
on.
Yeah.
yet. Yeah.
Let's do it to it.
Crossover.
Crossover, Revenge of the
Karasa, people love those. Another multiverse.
Revenge of the Showdown or Revenge of the Fam. Either or.
Revenge of the
Yeah.
Fam.
Mhm.
That sounds
That'd be pretty cool.
You know what would be cool? Oh,